forego his remaining college eligibility. The Titans have ruled out running back DeMarco Murray for Saturday's game against the Chiefs as he deals with his knee sprain. Bills running back LaShawn McCoy says he hopes to play in Buffalo's wild card game Sunday against the Jags. He didn't practice again Thursday because of his ankle injury. And there's a report by ESPN that the Patriots are having internal problems.
We're definitely talking about that today,
Robert Kraft, head coach
too.
Bill Belichick,
Did you see that story?
and quarterback Tom Brady have been at odds over, among other things, Brady's trainer and the trading of backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo.
I don't know. I don't think it came out until last night at around
champ Serena Williams has withdrawn
when Seth Wickersham went on SportsCenter and talked about the whole thing. They did a video on it too, kind of summarizing the whole thing.
I'm Deb Carson.
This is Michael David from Seattle. I'm 50.
All right, 4.5 minutes.
6 months ago, I started taking Andro 400 to increase my testosterone. Since then, I've lost 35 pounds of fat, and my waist went from size 30 to size 32. I have more energy, and I look and feel 20 years younger.
Jeff,
and now my wife tells me I have to take Andro 400.
Hi,
looking good, bud.
Ron Johnson from Utah.
Good, great talk.
10 weeks of
Great
taking
talk.
Andro 400. I lost 13 pounds, and my waist went from 36 to 33. That was 8 years ago. I continue to take Andro 400, and I've maintained my weight at 172. Gained muscle and energy. I'm 63 now and feel better than I have in 30 years.
Andro 400, the natural way to increase testosterone, lose belly fat, gain energy, and feel great. Try Andro 400, the safe, effective, affordable way to boost your testosterone. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed above 25,000 for the first time. The S&P 500 gained 0.3%, with materials and financials outperforming. The NASDAQ Composite advanced 0.4%. The Dow's upward surge is due in part by a global economic recovery and optimism that the Republican tax cut signed into law will provide a fresh boost for U.S. growth. With the new year comes a new chance to get personal finances in order. Merrill Lynch Wealth Management Advisor Nicole Christians offers what she calls a very important piece of insight.
In looking at your finances, the most important thing to note is that it's never too late to start, and the best time to start is always now.
And what should you be doing now?
Take a look at your 401k. Are you contributing? Do you know what your employer's match is? Have you looked at your investment allocation? What more can you be doing?
She also says everyone should be self-auditing all year long.
As the economy improves, it's a good way to say, okay, the past is the past. Let's try to move forward and identify ways that we can add to our savings and hopefully start to contribute to retirement savings as well.
A strong holiday shopping season pushed businesses to hire more workers, adding to robust private sector job numbers. Reports from ADP and Moody's Analytics show companies hired 250,000 new workers to close out 2017. That's well above Wall Street expectations of 190,000. December was the best month for job creation, topping 185,000 in November, a number that was revised lower by 5,000. Professional and business services led the way by adding 72,000 new positions. The education and health service sector added 50,000 jobs. Trade, transportation, and utilities contributed 45,000 new jobs. Payrolls related to Wall Street grew by 19,000. Consumer and business news. Ted Asregadoo, NBC News Radio.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated, price-competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40.
All right, 1 minute.
Was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino, and believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-514-9771. That's 800-514-9771. 800
Both of you made it at the same time. That's awesome.
What are you laughing about?
SelectQuote.com. Since 1985,
The picture of you
we shop, you save.
Is
Get full
tremendous.
details on the example.
Good stuff.
SelectQuote.com/commercials. The price could vary depending on your health issue and company and other factors. Not available in all states.
Hello, it's me. The designer jeans in the back of your closet.
Maybe.
What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe maybe I never really fit you.
Yeah, it's like
but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Yeah, I'm sure I want to know.
Dunc and Holder on a Friday, January 5th. Saints-Panthers playoff madness coming at you this weekend. Locked and loaded guest list today. All Saints-Panthers talk. We're not going to talk about anything that happened. We're not here to talk about the past. We're here to talk about the future, right, Jeff? Here to talk about the future.
No, we're talking about the last 12 hours.
No, we're not.
Heavily.
No, we're not.
Yeah, the last 12 hours, pretty much recapping everything that happened over the course of about 2.5, 3 hours for me, and I'd say about maybe 4.5 hours for you.
It was a glorious moment. It lived up to everything we thought, and I'm a little disappointed, primarily because I thought you were going to look a lot worse than you do. You actually are pulling off the fuzzy-headed cue ball look. I just didn't think it was going to look that good, and so I'm disappointed because I wanted you to look goofy, and you don't.
That was my ploy all along, because I look so good. Yes, I am bald. We won't spend the entire show talking about me being bald, because it's not like I'm not going to be bald tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day. But, yes, I am bald. I want to thank Tracy's great event last night over at Tracy's Magazine in 3rd Street. I want to thank Jeff Carreras over there, Mike McCluskey, Reggie Morris, Aaron Shepard, everybody who was over there. Jacob April, everybody who helped put this thing together over there. And, yeah, I am bald, and I made awfulannouncing.com this morning.
So boss. So awesome.
That's pretty impressive.
That is.
They didn't even rip me. They praised me for being glorious and living up to my my proclamation of total failure.
Actually, it was universal praise on social media yesterday for you owning it and sticking to it. I was surprised how many people were actually giving you kudos for that. And nobody made any fun, although at one point our photographer, Michael DeMacher, I was off to the side as people
I'm stunned Michael DeMacher would mock me, considering you guys mocked me in London. Like, I wasn't even there. You guys mocked me in London.
I turned to Michael DeMacher while someone else was taking a turn at shearing Larry's head, and I said, he doesn't look that bad. And DeMacher said, he doesn't look good either.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Well, my mother-in-law is fired up because she got in plenty of photos chopping my head off.
She was awesome.
Yes.
She was awesome, and it was a really fun event. And you're right. Great. Kudos to Jeff Carreras and the group over there at Tracy's. We had a really good time, and it was fun.
I didn't realize till last night that I don't go to Tracy's enough. After last night, that was awesome.
I think we should do this every week of the playoffs. Let's shave Clyde next week.
I'll take it. Just make sure you line me up.
The fade on top of the fade.
Yeah. Just make sure you line up my edges right. That's all. That's all I ask for.
The all-over fade.
Yeah, the all-over fade.
I'm just telling you. I'm just saying. That's all I need.
I'm just going to relay what happened last night. Look, I dragged Jeff and Josh to my neck of the woods over in Algiers, and then I exited stage left fairly early.
Yeah, we got home early.
Yeah, and so I go home, and I'm not ashamed to admit this. I openly wept. I wept.
Why?
Because I have no more hair. I openly wept. And
Joni?
And my wife is sitting there, and she's like, what's the matter? I'm like, I'm so sorry for what I did. I'm so sorry. She thought I had an affair or something.
God
And
bless your wife,
did with your hair.
And then she's like, look at my head. She's like, oh my gosh, you're an idiot. Go to bed.
Fair.
Go away.
Fair.
So I just went to bed.
Joni, wise woman.
Yes.
I'm gonna text her now that I have her number and just say, I am so sorry.
You did divorce yourself from your hair. Not Joni, thank goodness.
Yeah,
but
thank
your
goodness.
Hair. But you actually are pulling it off. And
I'm shaking my head.
And look, it's a life lesson for all of us, right? Make these wild proclamations. You live and learn kind of thing.
The life lesson is Make sure you have a passport and just bolt the country if you ever make a stupid bet. That's what we should do.
Also true.
Well, I tell you, we had a fun time, and lots of people came out. Our president took a turn at Larry's head.
Gleefully.
Yes, he did. And he's one to talk because he's follically challenged himself. Well, that's why he was
running in here, pointing at his head, because he's definitely yesterday when he was saying, like, you're going to look like me, you're going to look like me.
But you're not a part of the true bald community, as we've discussed before. You have made a life choice, sort of, to shave your head.
I've made a life choice,
whereas
sort of.
Tim has no really option other than Rogaine or something like that.
It will now be the Tim and Holder show right here at on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and Times Picayune.
Somebody suggested we should call it Dunc and Balder.
Yes, that was actually quite witty last night.
I like that, Dunc and Balder.
It was not witty.
It was a little bit.
No,
a little bit. I mean, it's play on words, alliterations.
Well, I am looking forward to another. I don't know how long this is going to last. 2 or 3 months of you being closely crowded. We should do some kind of a time lapse photography of your hair sprouting.
We are on YouTube every day, so I'm sure you could just time lapse it there.
I could probably take a screen cap of shows from now until let's say March, April, and then kind of see the grow back.
Those ones you see of the Superdome with the clouds going over it, the time lapse. We need that of your hair, different shadows, things growing out of it. Although I will say there was no weird tattoos or birthmarks or anything. We were kind of hoping, Joe Cardozi and I were hoping there was going to be some kind of crazy
some sort of hidden thing that my parents never told me about as a child.
Like a swastika tattoo or something.
I mean, really?
Yeah.
That's where we're going.
I don't know. We thought there could be maybe a fleur-de-lis tattoo.
Yeah. No, my family is not white supremacists. They're not.
You kind of look a little Aryan right now. But
again, we asked you for
that's what I was looking for,
to bring the knit cap too, so you can have that on, so you look a little less supremacist today.
I mean, is that where we're going with this?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, are we making picks today? By the way, I feel good about my picks.
Yeah, we are.
Are we doing that in the
Absolutely.
second hour?
Yeah, because my college playoff picks were so bad. We should just do NFL picks, and I'll just look even worse. I'm sure.
Well,
right?
Oklahoma. To your credit, I mean that game could have gone either way.
Yeah, literally.
I mean,
it was a toss-up anyway. It had to go to overtime.
Right. That was a hell of a game.
Yes,
the Clemson Alabama game, not so much. That was boring, and I had to cover that. So let's hope these playoff games. I've got a feeling these playoff games are going to be crazy this weekend. And one thing I discovered in my research, the AFC looks like it's going to be a showdown, right, between the Steelers and Patriots. We kind of all assume that.
Right.
The NFC. The Saints and the Rams are the only teams that have ever even won a Super Bowl. The other 4 teams are combined 0-10 in Super Bowls. So you're going to have a team likely in there that's never won a Super Bowl going for their first Super Bowl title, I think probably against, one of the kingpins and Goliaths of the league.
You don't think Fran Tarkenton is going to sit there crying and weeping because he never won a Super Bowl with the Vikings?
I'm sure he'll be interviewed many times. They're 0-4, I believe. The Eagles, Panthers, and Falcons are each 0-2. And this is another interesting thing. I didn't realize this. The Vikings are going to become the first team to ever host a divisional round that also hosts the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So we all know that no teams ever played in their home stadium when they're the Super Bowl host. Only 7 teams have ever even made the playoffs. I just said that weird word.
Playoffs.
You did say it with a little twang.
I know, I did. Only 7 teams have ever even made the playoffs when they've hosted it. And of those, none of them have ever hosted a divisional game. So the Vikings already are going to make history by hosting their divisional game. And if they win, they'll be the first team to ever have a chance to play for the shot to get into the Super Bowl. So they've got a lot on the line.
No doubt about it. But look, we got a great guest list today. In about 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so, we'll go up to Charlotte, talk with Jordan Rodriguez. She's Panthers beat writer for the Charlotte Observer. We'll catch up with her and get the latest news and notes about the Panthers. Top of the 11 o'clock hour, we will have Eric Edholm, NFL writer for Pro Football Weekly. Great follow on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. He's knows all the ins and outs of everything that's going on, so we'll talk with him about Saints-Panthers and kind of dissect some of the other matchups. And then around 11:40, we'll have our own hacksaw Herbie Teope, who did a great story on part of our special section, our special coverage at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Did a great story, and it's the next generation. That's kind of our theme here in that. So we'll talk with Herbie Teope about that story and just the game itself. So, and look, we're going to have some open segments. We're going to take your phone calls. Give us your prediction, your thoughts on the game. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. 504-260-1280. And, Jeff, we've already made our predictions. We'll wait till the end of the show, very end of the show. And, 11 o'clock hour, we'll do our picks because we may, who knows how long we'll have Hacksaw Herbie Teope on. Look, he may start talking about Game of Thrones, dragons, I don't know.
Karaoke.
Especially because, Comic-Con is here. Dave, I'm surprised Dave's even at work. I'm surprised he's just not at Comic-Con.
I don't want to be here.
There you go.
You can that's enough. You can hear the angst. It's like, get me the hell out of here. Move this show quicker.
It's like, hurry up.
Dave, if you could move the clock faster, we could all leave, and it'll be great. Let's just do that. You have the power to do that. I know he does.
All right.
This is sort of like
let's do it.
Christmas for Dave, I think, a little bit.
Yes, it's Nerdvana weekend.
Nerdvana. I like that. That's awesome.
Jeff, are you going to be lined up in costume outside just to get in? I know you are.
I'm pretty sure David Tennant, famously of Doctor Who, and then I think most recently Jessica Jones is going to be there. Jason Momoa.
I've never heard of any of
this.
How
do you know this stuff?
Because I told you, I read, okay? Don't doubt me on this.
I'm not doubting you.
I remember watching Doctor Who on like Channel 12 maybe 30 years ago.
Stan Lee's going to be there.
Stan Lee,
Stan the Man Lee.
Because he won't die.
Who's Stan Lee?
Jeffrey.
Is he related to Bruce Lee?
No, he's not.
I hate you.
No,
I don't know who it is.
Stan
you
Lee,
really don't know who Stan Lee is?
Also the creator of Marvel Comics.
No, I don't know. Why would I know that?
Because Marvel Comics is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever read one Marvel comic.
And that's not a surprise. Because, again, panty raids.
Dave, cut off his mic.
Jeff is too busy with panty raids, so it's fine.
Where'd that come from?
Jason Momoa, who will be playing Aquaman or who has played Aquaman in Justice League. I think he's going to be there. And then
I thought Vinny Chase played Aquaman.
No,
he didn't really.
No,
not Vinny Chase.
No, not Vinny Chase.
Not from Entourage. He was in Aquaman on the show.
He wanted to be, but no. I think they tried to do like a petition, but like obviously
you riddled off a bunch of so-called celebrities, and I've never heard of any of them.
But you've heard of obscure jockeys from the Kentucky Derby,
right?
You can rattle off the 1942 lineup of the Kentucky Derby.
Calvin Borel.
Listen to how mad
I knew it.
Dave is.
I know.
Rightfully so, though, Dave. Rightfully so to be pissed. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Get with the program, Jeff.
These people could walk in here right now, much like the long snapper for the Saints, and I wouldn't know who they are.
Not surprised, Jeff. Okay.
Maybe that's an indictment for me.
On you. All I know is, why don't we take a break right here on the show? When we get back, we'll have Jordan Rodrigue, Panthers beat writer for the Charlotte Observer. She will join us. And, by the way, on my wife's newscast this morning, I didn't know he was actually like a comic sci-fi guy, but one of the guys from Boy Meets World, he was on it. That's all I know him as.
Ryder Strong came here in the studios today. The entire sales floor, all the ladies came up here and mobbed him.
So that guy is making the rounds. He's making the rounds.
Oh. Who is it? Yesterday we had Thomas Ian Nicholas, the kid from Rookie of the Year. You know, Rowan Gartner.
Well, he's from American Pie.
Yeah, and American Pie too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Jeff's looking up Ryder Strong as we speak.
Never heard of
the
them.
ladies swooned. That's the only way I can describe it. They swooned.
Of course, Jeff. Never heard of him.
I'm just never heard of him.
I've never heard of anyone.
I don't know who he is.
I don't like fun things. I don't like Reggie Bush.
I'm not being down. I'm trying to learn.
I don't like anything.
Trying to learn Reggie Bush. At least they're not going to have him run out with a bat. That's
thank goodness. Spoiler alert, they're going to have someone else do it.
What? How do you know this?
Because I read Herbie's tweet yesterday that Reggie cannot do it. So I'm telling you, the next generation, he's going to pass the bat off to somebody else.
I don't think they're allowed to have a bat. That's what I heard.
Watch it.
And it makes sense. I mean, here they are supposedly
again,
player safety, and they got a guy running out with a bat. It's not.
Someone's going to have a bat tomorrow on Sunday.
Is it going to be a cricket bat?
Book it.
Book it. I'm bald.
Oh, he's mocking the host.
And call in and see and tell us if Larry sounds a lot lighter with his hair gone on the radio.
It is colder, I will say this. And you two are both cold. Dave, I love you most. So guess what? Let's go to break here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Jordan Rodrigue coming up next here on Dunc and Holder.
Country, back to her roots. She's
Ryder Strong. Never heard of
He's
it
in
in my
Boy
life.
Meets World.
Boy Meets World.
Never heard of that show.
How do you not what?
Look. Well, here's the funny thing, though.
Like Topanga? You never heard of Topanga?
No.
Oh.
What is it?
It's a show. What do you mean?
Topanga's a show? Is that
No. Topanga was she was the actress, or not the actress, but her character, Topanga. Why am I blanking on her name right now?
I don't know her real name.
Oh, I do.
I
just know the other kid is
What
like
if you could make one free phone call?
Fred Savage.
Yes, that's her name on the show.
Highly
I got her
rated,
here.
price competitive
Yeah,
company.
Danielle Fishel.
That's exactly what happens when you
Lawrence.
call
Yeah,
Select Quote.
Danielle Fishel.
For example,
She was
George is
always
40.
pretty.
He was
Always
getting
pretty.
sky-high
She was
quotes from
always
other
pretty.
companies
Always
because he
pretty.
takes
She
meds
still
to
is.
control
She
his
still
blood
is,
pressure.
yes.
But when I shopped around, I found
But I guess it's not a surprise, or we shouldn't consider, because maybe it would be weird if Jeff watched any of these shows.
Here's what we're doing, though. Now we're educating Jeff, because remember how he's like, I've never heard of Debbie Gibson. I don't even know who that is. And now he's got posters in his house everywhere.
I like Debbie Gibson.
Of course
I've heard of Debbie Gibson.
Topanga
Lawrence, I've never heard of.
She's only in your dreams, bro.
Yeah.
800-514-9771.
I was always a Tiffany kind of guy.
SelectQuote.com.
I think we're alone now.
All right, good deal.
We shop.
I will
you
say this,
save.
though, that
Get
a
full details on the
certain
example policy at
media
selectquote.com/commercials.
member's
Their price could vary depending on your health,
wife
income,
went on
and other
Facebook
factors,
and
not
said,
available
I've kind of got a
Maybe there's
Channing
a secret
Tatum look going.
society where
Say,
one
girl!
You see what I'm saying? This is the first thing he told me when I walked in. I was kind of like, it's the first thing he told me when I walked in.
already said it
Here's what
twice.
someone told me.
Somebody said you look like Max Ortiz said you look like somebody else.
Something's not stacking up
Total
here.
loser.
Is
He said
Taco
you look
Bell's
like,
$1 stacker reserved for the Bell Illuminati? Or just
Carl
anyone
from
with
Sling
a
Blade.
dollar? The answer is yes.
What?
At participating
that with
locations
the
for a limited
Sling
time,
Blade.
prices may vary, tax extra.
TiVo is headed to the cloud. The digital video recorder is
All right, 1 minute. We got Jordan.
Okay.
a platform which gives
There's
viewers
Carl.
a way to
You don't
watch
look like
recorded
Carl.
content
I'll
from both
defend you
cable
on that.
providers and streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime. The feature is expected to work with Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Android TV, and should be able to be integrated into smart TVs, cable boxes, and other devices. TiVo is expected to give more details, including pricing, next week at the CES Consumer Electronics Show. Microsoft is getting into the thermostat business. The smart thermostat called Glass features a translucent OLED display with touch controls. But you can also use Microsoft's voice-controlled assistant Cortana to manage your home's climate. Pre-orders begin in March with a retail price of $319. Mark Zuckerberg says his goal for 2018 is fixing Facebook. The social network CEO says he has a lot to do, including protecting our community from abuse and hate and defending against interference by nation states. Last year's Zuckerberg goal was to visit all 50 states, and the year before,
All right, coming back.
Mandarin, Tech Report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back on a Country Fried Friday. Dave, if you could just play all Hootie all the time today, I think
Shut up.
I think I deserve it.
Stop ruining Miranda.
I don't. Okay, I do know who Miranda is, but now that I've been educated
She's at the baggage claim
on Country Fried Fridays,
she's probably got some hair in your name.
Well, she's probably got hair in her hand of mine because it's all over the floor at Tracy's. So
Took a picture of it last
gone.
night. It was great.
Well, joining us, she even said on Twitter she can't even keep a straight face now that she's coming on the show because I look like a cue ball. Is Jordan Rodriguez, Panthers beat writer for the Charlotte Observer. Jordan, I'm just going to apologize in advance for anything I say today because I've literally lost half of my mind since my hair is gone. It's over for me. It's over.
I think you've lost some of your powers, Larry. Like no hair Larry is like Samson or something.
I mean, that rhymes too.
No hair Larry. I like
Damn
that.
it. Like that. That rhymes.
Duncan Balder.
Duncan Balder. Get out of here. Anyway. Jordan, appreciate you jumping on the show. Look, obviously these two teams are extremely familiar with each other, and the Saints have had the better end of the previous two matchups. And offensively, it seems like the Saints have had the Carolina's number, and then defensively, Cam Newton looks not like the good Cam, looks like bad Cam whenever he plays the Saints. Just your thoughts on this matchup as a whole, just how does it present itself to Carolina that if you think that they can even get this win after losing the two games this year?
You keep hearing around here this week that it's, hard to on the Saints' perspective, I guess, to beat a team 3 times in a row. But I just am not sure that this has ever been a great matchup for Carolina all season. I mean, the kinds of things that New Orleans is able to do offensively and be so dynamic and kind of break open those couple of big runs every single game that has really changed the dynamics and the momentum of these games, coupled with some Carolina mistakes. I mean, it just really hasn't been a good matchup for the Panthers. And they have even less, playmakers other than getting Greg Olsen back. They have less guys that are, kind of able to maybe make a difference and put some points up on the board. And after the game that Cam Newton had, a franchise worst 0-for-9 start against Atlanta last Sunday, only 180 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and a career low passer rating as well. I mean, you think because Cam Newton is who he is, you think he can rebound from this in a big way, but I think there's a lot of uncertainty externally. Internally, this team has been pretty businesslike this week.
Jordan, you mentioned Greg Olsen coming back. Obviously, that's a huge plus for Carolina. He's always succeeded against the Saints. What does the rest of Carolina's injury situation look like? I saw where Devin Funchess has missed practice, Matt Khalil, our own here in New Orleans, Trey Turner's been in and out of concussion protocol. What do they look like coming into this week?
Well, we're not sure that Trey Turner will be cleared by the independent consultant, the neuroscientist that's supposed to come in and give him his final evaluation this week. We're not sure he's going to be out of the protocol, so that you'll probably be seeing Amini Silatolu again for a 4th week at that guard position, which has kind of, he had a really strong first outing when he did come in and replace Trey, but has struggled since then. And Devin Funchess and Greg Olsen, obviously, Greg's going to be back, and Devin Funchess is healthy. He's practicing. The last couple of days were more precautionary, he told me yesterday. And Matt Khalil's back at practice. I think he just had kind of a flu-like bug, and they didn't want him around. They didn't want him around teammates, and they're kind of short on tackles. So getting him back, even if he's even a little under the weather, I wouldn't expect him to miss Sunday.
Jordan Rodrigue of the Charlotte Observer joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Jordan, you look at we've already mentioned the skill positions, and they're decimated seemingly at wide receiver. Like Curtis Samuel, who could be one of their major playmakers, I'm sure they wanted to lean on at this point in the season. He's out for the year. We've already talked about Greg Olsen, but how much do you feel like in this game specifically, look, Alvin Kamara's on one side of the field, Christian McCaffrey's on the other side of the field. How much do you feel like they're going to maybe lean on McCaffrey going into this game, given, as I just said, their lack of major weapons on the outside?
Yeah, well, I think they're going to depend on him a little bit more in the slot. They've kind of done that when they've had these injuries, not just Curtis Samuel, but Damiere Byrd as well. And then when Greg was out, they leaned on Christian, an average of 2 or 3 catches more a game than when Greg has been in the game. So I think Christian will definitely be someone they'll lean less on in the run game and more as a kind of the dynamic back, whether it's pass catching out of the backfield or lining up in the slot. And he also lines up outside as well. So they want to give it a couple different looks, I think, to the Saints defense. But then having Greg back, I think, is kind of those are the two guys that I think the combination of both of those players, they're really hoping that they can mix stuff up underneath enough to allow Devin Funchess to kind of get open, maybe get in a couple one-on-one matchups with Lattimore and stretch the field a little bit. And I think that's kind of where they're leaning for this game plan on Sunday.
Yeah, Jordan, I was going to ask you about Steve Wilks. It seems like he's put his own stamp on this defense. I know in years past, Carolina was not a big blitz-happy team, but they've been blitzing more this year, haven't they, under Wilks?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. They blitz on 17% more of passing plays than they had under Sean McDermott. So they're blitzing at like 42% right now and 50% on third down passing plays. So it's kind of interesting. It's really aggressive. Obviously, if you live by it, you can also die by it. But they kind of trust their linebackers and their corners in terms of tackling and being able to clog the space. If you have a guy like Drew Brees who can get the ball out quick, it's kind of dangerous to blitz against a guy like that because you leave so much space open, kind of in the those little quick release passes that he can get to Kamara, who can create a lot of space and make guys miss. But I think they're going to continue to stick with that plan. They really like his style. They've been, successful with it largely for most of the year. But I think where they're really, where that could be problematic is giving up those big chunk runs like they did. Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara both kind of gashed them the last couple times. It really made a difference in the game. I mean, I don't expect them to stylistically change anything, but they got to find a way to clog those holes once they do get pressure on Breeze.
Jordan Rodriguez of the Charlotte Observer joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Jordan, I feel like the last matchup that Mario Addison had was able to get pressure along the edge. Just how has he progressed? And look, Teron Armstead, he's coming into this game. He could be back on the field, but he's obviously hobbled. And to me, it feels like, I know Julius Peppers is around, but to me, Addison feels like he's the biggest threat to get to Breeze. What have you seen from Mario this year?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it gives me a chance to shamelessly plug my story that I wrote.
Jordan, cut. She's out. Wonderful. Cut Jordan out. She's gone. She's out.
Well done.
Well, all of y'all are ploying against me.
Speaking of blitzes.
Jordan, you can plug your story. Here, plug whatever. All right, go ahead.
I mean, I wrote about Mario this week because he's really been really good against the Saints the last 2 years, and especially getting pressure on Breeze. I mean, he leads the team in pressures this year anyway, and then against the Saints, he gets pressure, more than anybody else on the team. And I think around the NFC South, he's been more successful than a lot of the defensive ends. So I think that's something that they're really kind of counting on from him this week. And Julius Peppers, obviously being the future first ballot Hall of Famer, is the one who gets talked about. But Mario Addison kind of flies under the radar, and I think he's underestimated a little bit by some of these tackles because he's smaller. I mean, you see him on film and in person, and he looks maybe like an outside linebacker. He's a little bit smaller than your normal defensive end, but he has he has a lot of speed, and he kind of a couple guys talk about how he hits you with the speed, and then he comes at you with a power move, and he can stuff the run pretty well. So I think they're really hoping that not only can he get pressure on Breeze, but he can help set the edge when Breeze, inevitably does try to get the ball to guys like Kamara or Ingram, kind of running these flats or these little screen passes.
Jordan, let's switch gears real quick, and 2 questions before we let you go. 1, did you get the score of the Sun Bowl? And 2, you going for the alligator sausage cheesecake or not?
First of all, how dare you?
I didn't get the score. I was just wondering if you had it. I didn't see.
Do you realize she was your ally, and all of a sudden she's ripping me, and now she's got reason to crush you? Good job, dude. Way to go.
I'll get that score. I'll get the score somewhere else.
Keep his enemy. I guess he likes to keep people on their toes and turn friends into enemies. That's something, Jeff. That's quite a move that you just pulled.
And the alligator sausage cheesecake, if you had that before at Giacomo's, do you plan to try it if you haven't?
I've never had it. I'll try anything if it's tasty. So I definitely think I'm going to try to go for that this weekend.
Yes, it's a must.
Good deal. Hey, Jordan Rodriguez of the Charlotte Observer. Hey, Jordan, appreciate you jumping on the show. See you on Sunday, and if I'm wearing a ski cap in the press box, you exactly know why.
Take it off.
I think you need to wear one just to benefit the rest of us, Larry. Thanks.
There you go. Jordan Rodriguez, Charlotte Observer.
Jordan.
Hey, Jordan, appreciate it, and we will see you on Sunday. Good deal.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Sunday. You got it. All right, Jordan Rodriguez of the Charlotte Observer. Why don't we take a break right here on the show? We get back. Look, we're going Saints-Panthers the entire show. If you want to get involved, give your thoughts on the game. We will certainly take those. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Top 11 o'clock hour, we're going to have Eric Edholm, NFL writer for Pro Football Weekly. And then around 11:40, we will have our own Herbie Teope, of course, covers the Saints for us here at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. So come on back on a Country Fried Friday here, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Of course, I'm one to talk with.
This report is brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life.
Happy Friday from the Fox 8 Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. We'll see temperatures climbing into the low 50s this afternoon under a mix of sun and clouds. And tonight it'll get chilly again. Temperatures falling into the mid to upper 20s on the North Shore and those mid 30s on the South Shore. Looks like we'll see temperatures getting into the mid 50s for highs tomorrow and mid 60s for highs on Sunday. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
While many rose up with
Catherine?
violence, he sat down for peace. Mahatma Gandhi reached out with the strength he cultivated within his soul.
You two can
So
have a
pass
battle
it
of
on
the
to
ages.
the Foundation for
You two
a
can have a
Better
battle
Life
of the
at
ages.
values.com.
I'm a good driver.
Jimmy Jack's freaky fast, freaky fresh.
I'm very, very.
You drove me to Old Point, so that's good.
Did almost. Yeah, clearly.
Man,
Not
I
really.
sincerely want to apologize for anything.
It's right there on the screen.
And we're doing all we can to.
And I say it's about on time.
I know, and I'm gonna.
Remember
Wait,
we were
what?
like talking to
Body is a
Brittany, our
beautiful
driver.
thing,
Like,
don't you
she was
agree?
Well,
I tipped her like extra.
Oh yeah,
so
good.
proud.
You have to tip them extra, and then you have to give them like a really cool rating.
Our meats are all natural.
Like,
Smoked
thank
ham,
you for
Swiss roast
not
beef,
giving
fresh,
us a
freaky
bad
fresh,
rating.
all natural and freaky fresh.
So I don't
We got
suppose
there
I
like
can expect
filming
all
a
natural
movie
delivery in the future.
No.
Hey, we got a caller, Larry in Baton Rouge.
Start tomorrow with the Chiefs hosting the Titans and the Falcons calling on the.
1 minute.
Sunday it's the Bills and Jaguars in Jacksonville, and the Saints home for the Panthers. Buffalo running back LaShawn McCoy, who injured his right ankle last week, is out of his walking boot but is unsure if he'll play.
We got a guess
running
now?
back DeMarco Murray is out with a slight MCL tear. The Warriors down the Rockets 124-114 in Houston. 17 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists for Draymond Green, who broke the franchise record for triple-double.
It's not something that I ever thought. I didn't even know what the record was, and then not something that I ever thought. Even thought about or thought would happen. Especially not playing much my first 2 years. It's crazy.
Steph Curry at 29, Klay Thompson 28 for Golden State. Both James Harden and Kevin Durant did not play due to injury. College hoops, top-ranked Michigan State rolled over Maryland 91-61. Number 4 Arizona State fell at OT at Colorado 90-81. That's sports. Frank Arity, NBC News Radio.
Williams lived down a dirt road.
Going deep on the teams you care about. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Let's hit the phone lines here. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Great name, Larry in Baton Rouge. Larry, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got, Larry?
Good morning. Nice haircut, by the way, Larry.
Oh, boy. I can't. Here's the thing. Like, people were saying, oh, people have done these gimmicks before. They can wear, like, a red dress or put a bag on their head for, like, 30 seconds. I've got to wear this, like, for months. Like,
it really doesn't look bad, man. It kind of reminds me of Kobe Fleener.
Is that supposed to be a compliment?
You better take it.
That's a good one. I'll take the money. I'll take his money and run.
Kobe Fleener is a great call.
I will say
Thanks,
this, Larry, that my wife texted me during the break and said I looked hot. So I'm in. She's what is she doing on you? She should be getting her noon newscast together. Anyway, but yeah. Thanks, Larry. Hey, bud, I appreciate it. What you got, buddy?
Man, I just wanted to touch bases on the Saints and Panthers game. Basically, I just feel like, well, as I always say, if the Saints do not beat the Saints, I believe we'll win this game. Meaning, I just feel like if the defense get out there and make the stops that we need, I just feel like the offense cannot have stalled drives. When we have a chance, meaning we have a chance to put the game away, put the dagger in them. Say if the game, for example, if the game is, just say it's 21-7, and we have a chance to put the dagger in them, the offense just cannot have stalled drives. That's it. And I just feel like, as I said the other day, Kamara is very special. I love Kamara, but it just cannot be a one-man show because really these teams starting to key in on Kamara because if I'm the Carolina Panthers right now, I'm like, oh, we're going to have to stop Kamara, even though I don't think there's no way you could possibly stop this guy. But I just feel like, man, I just feel like if the defense go out there and make the stops, we just cannot have stalled drives from the offense. that's it. If we do it, I believe we'll win this game this Sunday. I know we will win the game on Sunday anyway, but most definitely we'll win.
There you go. Hey, Larry, appreciate the phone call, and I think Larry's got some good points because we've seen the Saints have plenty of issues on third down this year. It's not this one game, it's 2 game, it's not an anomaly. That is what they are. They struggle on third down, keeping drives going, and even in wins. Look, they went 3 of 10 against the Jets on third down. In the loss in Atlanta, I think they went 3 of 13 or something like that. Or it's become, as Sean Payton would like to say, it's become an epidemic. And I don't know if they could fix it this year, but they've got to execute. And Drew Brees is like, oh, well, it's execution. Well, of course it's execution. But I think part of the problem is, and people have asked me this on radio shows when I've done some guest spots this week, what's the problem on third down? I just don't think they have the weapons that they're accustomed to, even though they have Kamara. I think they're lacking weapons. And, Jeff, you and me have talked about this before. I don't know if it's going to get fixed necessarily this year, right now. It's because it's just keeps
Frank
going.
In the ninth ward.
Yeah, no, 37.6%. And they ranked 19th in the league. And this is a team that has led the league in third down conversion rate the previous 3 seasons. So really strange for them to have these kind of struggles. And as Sean Payton pointed out, it's actually occurred in third and medium, third and short. They've been converting at a fairly high rate at third and long, which is really weird. Why they can't get a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4? It's just strange and befuddling. But look, it's a new season. You just never know. But Carolina's very good defensively, and they're very good on third down. So that'll be a key stat on Sunday.
Absolutely. Let's hit the phone lines again, 504-260-1280. This is really weird. Okay, so Larry from Baton Rouge just called. We've got Frank from the 9th Ward. Do you realize my name is Larry Frank Holder? This is bizarre. What is going on? Are all y'all just in it to get me? Frank, are you in just to sabotage me or what? What's up, Frank?
Well, no, but I was wondering how it felt to wake up without hair this morning.
It was an interesting experience. Let me tell you, when I brought my kids to school, my head was certainly cold. There's no doubt about it. Yes, no doubt about it.
Okay. My one concern going into these playoffs, and you guys just stole a lot of my thunder.
Bring the thunder back. You could do it.
The one thing that's really got me worried is this team's inability on third down. And I think if there's one thing that's going to undo this team's playoff run, it's that. And not so much defensive injuries. That I think may really come back to bite them. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope I'm calling the week before the Super Bowl to say I was wrong, but I don't see how you can make it all through the playoffs with the problems we have on converting on third down. And Happy New Year to you guys. Hope we speak again next week, and I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
All right, Frank. Hey, appreciate the phone call. And look, we're not going anywhere if they lose. Look, you can call back anytime you want. It's good.
Yeah,
okay.
This show doesn't end with the season.
That's all good. But no, Frank, look, I think he's not alone, obviously. Look, we're talking about these issues, and they've done poorly on third down in wins. And now you're playing – I mean, they're not playing the Jets. Like, every team they're going to be facing is going to be a massive challenge. If they get through the Carolina Panthers, just look at who's left. I think you could make an argument, even with Carolina, that the Saints can beat every team and every team can beat the Saints, and they can't beat themselves. And if you're not converting on third down and keeping drives going, it's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt.
And I think it's going to be a bigger challenge when they get on the road eventually, assuming they beat Carolina, take care of business on Sunday. And I think it's a big assumption because I do think Carolina will keep this game close. And the more I get to Sunday, the more I'm starting to think my blowout prediction is not going to be accurate. But when they go on the road, you're playing in a hostile environment. The opposing crowd is on their feet on third down. It just always makes things more difficult. And I thought there was a stat during the Saints-Bucks game that the Fox broadcasting crew announced. They said the Saints have only been guilty or committed 6 false starts all season, by far the lowest in the NFL. And you think about it, I can't hardly remember any false starts, especially when you consider how many different people they've used on the offensive line, moving guys around. You got a rookie over there. They just are very disciplined up front, and those are huge. That's huge because you're not starting 1st and 15. You're not in the bad down a distance scenario, and that certainly is always an advantage for the Saints when they play at home.
And you look at what happened last week. It wasn't false starts, but you had illegal shift by Ted Ginn. I think you had a false start by Brandon Coleman.
Was the
That's
false start.
Random by a wide receiver.
Sean Payton was not happy about that.
He was not happy. And look, he was not happy, and he reiterated it the next day that he's not been happy with the offense. And I've pointed this out in columns. I've pointed this out on the show that outside of Carolina and Buffalo, the offense has struggled in every game against a playoff opponent. It struggled twice against Atlanta, struggled against the Rams, struggled against the Patriots, and struggled against Minnesota. And look, we could be talking about the defense, that they could slow down Carolina. There's no doubt about it. But the offense has got to do their job. And I feel like at times when the offense has been inefficient, they've kept teams in the game, not the defense.
Yeah, no, I thought your column nailed it about the struggles they've had. They haven't been consistent in really anything other than the backs kind of in their role in the offense. Obviously, Mike Thomas has been a consistent go-to guy, but just not consistently doing anything. They're not the explosive offense we've seen in the past either. Other than Kamara's, some of his big plays out of the backfield, they haven't had a lot of. I know they get a lot of 20-yard gains. I think they lead the league in 20-yard gains, but not a lot of big touchdowns out of those 20-yard gains.
Well, I feel like Sean Payton has catered the offense that way because he knows exactly what we're saying, that they don't have the dynamic weapons. It's not like you've got Willie Snead who's nearing 1,000 yards. You don't have Brandon Cooks. You don't have a viable tight end in there. So I think he's having to work with the pieces he's got. And so it's certainly something that you're just going to have to deal with, and they're going to win the way they win, and we'll see what happens. All right, let's hit one more phone call before we take a break right here on the show. Let's go to Glenn in New Orleans. Glenn, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What's up, Glenn?
Oh, he hung up.
Sorry, Glenn, you hung up, so no good for you. Anyway, you can call back if you want, but maybe we'll take it.
Here's a point that I think you make a good point about the offense, because, as we've noted before, they're getting ready to probably play against 3, or if they keep going in this playoffs, they're probably going to play some of the top defenses in the league. Minnesota is number 1 in the league. Philadelphia is number 4. And the Panthers this week are number 7. So they're not going to be going against some of these teams like they saw in the regular season. They're going to have to earn it against these teams. And I think, even though they've lit up Carolina, I think Carolina is going to come in here with a totally different plan. Steve Wilkes is a very good defense coordinator. He's getting interviewed for head coaching jobs. He's a head coaching prospect. And I think they're going to throw some wrinkles at the Saints, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust.
And that was going to be kind of what I was going to lead into, or at least maybe lead into either in the next segment or maybe in the next hour when we're talking to Herbie. But the idea, that we've, over the course of the last week, we've built up so much kind of rhetoric about being back in the playoffs, a home playoff game, and being Carolina twice, that we've kind of now gotten to the point where it's Friday, you're 2 days out from the game, it's going to be a packed stadium, it's going to be a loud Superdome, but how much of that that emotion goes into once the game starts and things aren't necessarily going the way that you want it to go, specifically if you're the Saints, and you probably have to work your way back because it is the playoffs. Everything is on the line now. You've got to throw everything out, and you've got to be willing to take a couple shots, take a couple blows before you get the last blow and put it away late. And how fans kind of ebb and flow through the team in the stadium on game day.
Yeah, because it's certainly, tension is obviously bigger.
Yes.
In this moment. And it potentially could be the only playoff game that they have here, and people are going to be knowing that the Saints are favored. They should beat this team. They beat them twice before. So there's going to definitely be some tense moments. Why don't we take a break right here on the show? One more segment here in hour number 1. Hour number 2, got a couple guests. Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly covers the NFL. We'll talk with him. And then Herbie Teope, of course, of NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. We'll talk with him around 11:40. And we are taking your phone calls. Thoughts on the game, worries, concerns, or you're just thinking it's going to be 50-0, something crazy. So come on back here Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Just looking, trying to see if King Crawley's one of the most penalized guys in the league.
He can't be.
New Year's resolutions.
He's got 10.
Losing weight.
He's got 10.
Being
There's
a
some
better
guy
person,
on the
a better
Seahawks.
Whatever. Winning
Sherman,
Pelicans tickets.
FED or something?
Yeah.
20
Keep listening for your chance
Oh,
to win
wow,
Pelicans
he's-
tickets on
I was about to
offensive
say
lineman.
Brandon Brown, but he's an offensive
Start
lineman.
2018 with all the games on News Talk
That's
99.
insane.
How's
Are
that
they all
impossible?
Are they all holding him?
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Billy
It's got to be
Insane.
like holds,
But
false
Louisiana is
starts.
more than just a place to visit. It's our way of
Let's
life.
see.
And that means being outdoors.
Yeah, false
Join the nearly
starts,
2 million
holding.
people who camp, bike, paddle, and hiked our state parks last year.
insane.
As we invite you to do the same.
He's like a first-round
Every
pick,
corner
too.
of Louisiana has something to offer.
Michael
From
Bennett's
the
got
world-class
15
fishing at
with
Toledo
defensive
Bend
linemen.
to paddling at Fountainville.
What
to
is he?
exploring
Offsides.
the mountains of
They get him
Ivy
on. Look, he's been
World
offsides.
Heritage
1, 2,
Site.
3, 4,
So fill
5,
up your
6,
car
7,
and
8, 9,
staycation
10
right
times.
here in our home, Louisiana.
People must know he
Stay
jumps.
focused on your goal for 2018 while
doesn't think
using
he's
that
going
new
back.
toy.
Alexa, play iHeartRadio Spin Cycle.
Saints are going to bring him and Jimmy back.
iHeartRadio has stations and playlists
I'm
perfect for your
one of the most
workout.
penalized
24-hour
corners in
cardio
the league. He
mix,
might be the
hip-hop
most
workout
penalized.
radio,
I've seen
Club
anybody-
Jam Country, plus playlists like
Well, that's
rock
like 2
workout,
years ago.
electronic dance workout, and more.
Delvin
Let
Breaux had
iHeartRadio help
double-digit
you succeed in
penalties.
2018.
No one
All
even
your favorite music, all
realized
your
it
favorite
because Brandon
stations,
Brown had,
all
like,
free.
Yeah, Brandon Brown is a record.
Every child is born with talents, hopes, and dreams.
That
but
did
poverty
make
will steal those
his first and
dreams.
10
You can
every
help a
week.
child
Penalty
find
report
hope when you
that
become
made
their
it, like,
sponsor
glorious.
with Compassionate International. Give a child a chance
That
to
was-
dream
yeah.
again.
I would
Find
keep
out
track of how much higher he was than the
Compassion.com/radio.
next most penalized person in the league.
America's coal mining deaths are up,
Sean
but they're
Coleman,
still low.
he's
The Mine
offensive lineman,
Safety
right?
and Health Administration reports deaths among coal miners nearly
boy's
doubled
leaving,
last
dude.
year.
I know.
15 coal
So much
miners
for that.
died in 2017 compared to 8
Here's
the
some
year
guy named
before.
Anthony
Those
Brown.
8
I
coal
think he's a
mining
DB.
deaths
He's
in
got 10 too.
2016, though, were a record low.
Looks like he's tied for
Mining
the
deaths
most.
have been declining steadily since
corner.
42 miners were killed in 2001.
I mean, I'd believe
If
it.
losing weight is one of your New Year's goals, you're probably trying to figure
Yeah,
out
I
which
mean,
diet is best. Well, U.S.
Kenny
News and
Vaccaro's
World
got
Report
that.
has done the
Yeah, and he
legwork
play
and the
half the year.
research. Its annual
Yeah,
diet
that's why
rankings
when
are
Peyton
out,
was
and
like,
it puts the
same people make
Mediterranean
penalties
diet
every week.
and
Every
the
week.
DASH
Crawley
diet
and
first.
Vaccaro.
Both encourage eating more fruits and
It's good to have that
vegetables, as
perspective,
well
though,
as
to know,
whole
you know what I
grains,
mean? Like-
fish, legumes, nuts, and lean proteins like fish or chicken. The DASH diet
Kenny.
also recommends limiting
Kenny's gonna
salt
be gone.
and is often recommended for lowering blood pressure.
Coach.
Health update: Sarah Lee Kessler,
you talk
NBC
about
News
Kenny
Radio.
All right, coming back.
If you're not in it for love.
This is Duncan Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Clyde's got a little head wobble over there with this Shania,
Yes,
right?
Shania, absolutely.
I know it.
Did y'all see her performance on at the Grey Cup?
No.
It was quite good.
What? The Grey Cup?
Yes.
No.
I can
Yes.
answer that
Why would I watch
emphatically.
the Grey Cup?
No, we did not see
It's
it.
on YouTube. It's
Why would we
fantastic.
have seen that? Like, what would have?
I mean,
made
it
us
blew
watch
up
the Grey
everywhere
Cup?
because I mean,
It blew up everywhere.
It was everywhere.
She's not even the most famous Canadian I've ever known. Rest in peace, Alan Thicke. Most known Canadian on planet Earth, Alan Thicke.
I doubt that. I doubt
Show me that smile again, dude. Just show it to me.
Unbelievable.
Isn't Wayne Gretzky from Canada?
Yeah,
but he's
I
no
think
Alan Thicke.
He's bigger than Alan Thicke.
Yeah.
Was
Way
he
bigger.
in Growing Pains? No.
No, he wasn't.
Alan Thicke, dominate. Total domination.
Shania, who is on her Shania Now tour, coming to New Orleans.
Okay, I'm about to have
Reel
like
it back
diarrhea
in.
of the mouth because
Reel it in.
I was about to say, how on planet Earth can someone on a family show have a Kirk Cameron's friend be called Boner? How is that?
Especially now knowing
Like,
how
how?
Kirk Cameron.
It's like a religious
his
dude.
post Growing Pains days.
He's like mega religion guy.
Yeah, mega left Earth, whatever it is,
Right.
the leftovers, whatever that crazy stuff is.
How can you have a character named Boner? How? Boner Stabone. I think that's what his name was, right? Am I right? Clyde,
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
I'm
you're
leaning
right.
on you.
Yes.
I'm not even
Yes.
looking at Jeff.
I've checked out.
Yes,
Jeff's never even heard of
checked out.
Growing
I've
Pains.
checked out in this conversation.
I'm your assured tight end. Yes, throw it to me. I got it. Yes.
That's why I'm looking at you, my friend.
Somebody
Atta
did on
baby.
YouTube suggest that we call it Duncan Curly. Does that sound good? Duncan Curly? Like,
But Larry has like the bald look that you gave me on the bald app. like Larry, you know.
Oh, yeah, the ball. Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to run that picture, by the way, in the story of Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow, and our own Chris Dabe took it out.
Why?
Because he found the picture of me with like the bangs overflowing with the visor. He's like, good thing I took this out. But I did have like a snarky. It was like photo illustration via Jeff Duncan via some random bald app. That's what the cut line was gonna say. Oh my gosh! But yeah. Anywho, let's reel it back in.
Yeah, let's reel it back in. So I'm looking up whether Ken Crawley is the most penalized DB.
Yeah,
in the
you've
league.
been doing this research. Yeah, during the
He's not
commercial
though.
break.
He's not.
Oh, okay.
We're finding out that there's at least 2 corners in the league that have more than his 10 penalties, but he's definitely in the top 5.
Well, I was talking about during the break 2 years ago, Delvin Breaux, who had a great season in 2015, he had double-digit penalties, and we didn't notice because Brandon Browner, like, nuked the world with penalties.
He set an NFL record.
Yeah.
And I remember discovering
and now he's on
that.
TMZ and being in prison, and God knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
think
a great
he's really
signing.
in prison, but yeah.
Just a tremendous signing by the Saints. In so many ways, he was such a great locker room guy.
Nicest guy ever.
Yeah, what a great humanitarian.
I'm stunned 2015 didn't go well. I'm stunned.
Yeah. But
thankfully for the Saints, for their sake, you could say Ken Crawley, yeah, he's got 10 penalties, but he has certainly done an admirable job. I mean, he is a legit starting corner, and the fact that in normal other seasons, because I'm calling this one basically abnormal because they're back in the playoffs, because they don't make the playoffs every year. It's just a fact. Ken Crawley would be their best corner 2 years ago,
Yes.
or even last year, he would be their best corner. I mean, and the fact you've got Marshawn Lattimore, who is certainly, in my eyes, your eyes, Clyde, your eyes, probably most of humanity.
That's watching
easily the defensive rookie of the year. There's no argument there. I mean, he has been fantastic. But you've got Crawley. And look, he made his coming out party as far as, look, I'm a viable player against Carolina in week 3. That's when he finally became active. He was starting, and they've never looked back.
Yeah, and then he had the big pick against Miami in week 4 in the end zone. I mean, that was a huge play because Miami that was such a strange game. Opening kickoff, march all the way down the field, looked like they're getting ready to punch it in, throw that fade. He picks it off, and then Miami shut out the rest of the game. Never even sniffed the end zone, really. The rest of the game. Ken Crawley has 10 penalties. Kenny Vaccaro's second on the team with 9. P.J. Williams tied with a bunch of tackles on the team with 6. So their DBs are among the more heavily penalized as a group in the league.
Well, P.J., his penalties hurt the most because his are the massive
long ones,
pass interference penalties that we've seen a few
times.
times.
He's got 102 yards in penalties out of 6.
But look, he's your third corner. He's done a viable job, no problem. Look, that's the thing. The fact that last segment and 2 segments ago we're talking more about the offense. We're not talking about defensive deficiencies. And this defense, and that's why I've got no problem picking the Saints to win this game, this defense matches up well
1 minute
with Carolina. I don't care about the injuries, the fact that they've been able to rebound. And look, I feel like you're at least going to get a little bit more depth on the defensive line. Trey Hendrickson's been limited these past couple of practices. I anticipate he's going to be back for this game, so you got a little more depth, flexibility there, so people won't be gassed. So I think that's a good thing there.
Yeah, and Sean Payton is really high on Trey Hendrickson. This is a guy that he thinks can be another Rob Ninkovich type, guy that they are not afraid to stick out there. So it'll help having him back. Create some pass rush.
Absolutely. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We will talk with Eric Edholm of Pro Football Weekly. And then, of course, we'll talk with Herbie Teope later on in hour number 2. So come on back here on a Country Fried Friday, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Tonight I'm gonna meet at the Hungry House Cafe. And I'm gonna give her.
I saw Alvin like screaming, Alvin, what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? Get out of here, Alvin!
I thought this was
played
me.
in the street.
I played in the service. Anyway, what I'm trying to say
Oh my God, is that me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone call 911.
I realized last night.
2 out of 3 people with diabetes die of a heart attack
Look,
or
it's you.
stroke. But you can lower the risk. Ask your healthcare provider how. For more info, go to diabetes.gov.
Oh my God,
I ate nothing yesterday, which is why I went.
Americans
Americans are always on the move.
Jennifer.
They're in the car, or at the office,
Yeah, they don't
or
sell
working
food.
around the house.
Well, we had
Americans
chips, thank
refuse
God.
to sit still. So how do you connect with all those moving targets?
got a drink in
Easy,
my hand.
with radio. Radio reaches 93%.
Yeah, I don't think there was any
Americans
point where
every
you
week.
didn't.
More than Google, Facebook,
You
and
needed
even
it.
television. Because hey, who has time to sit and watch TV? So when you want to connect with all those constantly moving adults, teens, and millennials, get to
that's
iHeartRadio.com.
wonderful. That's
AM,
wonderful.
FM radio to work for you.
I'm gonna.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
Yeah, let's say pull some of those photos, or we can pull them off Merlin.
Fox Sports trending now.
There was a report that came out last night by ESPN saying the Patriots were having internal problems, saying, among other things, that Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady had been at odds over, among other things, Brady's trainer and the trading of backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo to the 49ers. Well, this morning, the trio of Kraft, Belichick, and Brady issued a joint statement saying reports, quote, speculated theories that are unsubstantiated, highly exaggerated, or flat out inaccurate. End quote. They conclude by saying, quote, as our actions have shown, we stand united, end quote. Earlier today, Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson declared for the NFL draft. Titans ruled out running back DeMarco Murray for Saturday's game against the Chiefs. With his knee sprained, LaShawn McCoy
NOLA.com.
hopes to play in the Bills' wildcard game Sunday against the Jags. Missed practice, though, again Thursday because of his ankle injury. I'm Deb Carson.
I'm
All right,
Mike
see ya.
Brandner. After you've been hurt in a car wreck, you wouldn't settle for getting half your car fixed. So why settle for getting half a check? The insurance companies have teams of adjusters and lawyers, and their job is to pay you as little as possible for your case. In a wreck, need a check? Call Mike Brandner today. We'll work hard to get you all the money you deserve and keep you out of the courtroom. Call 345-1111. The call and the advice are free.
Do you know the power of a good idea? The Latrim Corporation has grown through people and their ideas. It all started in 1949 when our founder, J.M. Lapierre, invented automatic shrimp peeling machinery that changed the seafood industry. J.M. founded the Latrim companies, Intralocks, Lapierre Stair, Latrim Machinery, and Latrim Machine Shop. The people of these companies have patented hundreds of new inventions used around the world. If you have good ideas and want to help create the next Latrim innovation, visit Latrim.com for a full listing of positions.
You count on your air conditioning to work perfectly and to make your family comfortable. So if you ever have a problem, you want someone who will be there to help right away. At Burkhardt Air Conditioning and Heating, that's the commitment we've made to our customers for over 25 years. Our NATE certified technicians provide emergency service for any type and any brand of cooling system. If you need help anytime, call us. We promise to get you up and running again quickly and professionally. And if you're thinking about an upgrade, right now, we'll help you save with quality cooling equipment from Amana. These systems come with incredible warranties, and we have 5 years interest-free financing available now. Plus, our Amana brand 8 VAC systems are highly efficient. With Burkhardt's 25% energy reduction guarantee, you'll continue saving on utility bills for years to come. Whether it's an emergency repair or a brand new cooling system, we're here to help when you need us. Trust Burkhardt Air Conditioning and Heating. Visit acpromise.com.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed above 25,000.
Yeah,
for the
just
first
sheer, like,
time.
man, I can
The
feel all this
S&P
wind on my
500
head right
gained
now.
0.3%, with materials and financials outperforming.
so cold.
The Nasdaq
So
Composite
cold.
advanced
There's so much
0.6%.
air.
The Dow's upward surge is due in part by a global economic recovery and optimism that the Republican tax cut signed into law will provide a fresh boost for U.S. growth. With the new year comes a new chance to get personal finances in order. Merrill Lynch Wealth Management Advisor Nicole Christians offers what she calls a very important piece of insight.
In looking at your finances, the most important thing to note is that it's never too late to start, and the best time to start is always now.
And what should you be doing now?
Take a look at your 401k.
I like that cozy
Are you
cleaner.
contributing?
Yeah,
Do
that
you
was
know
good.
what your employer's
That was really
match
good.
is? Have you looked at your
You
investment
say that, I
allocation?
thought about
What more
him,
can you be
like,
doing?
I'm gonna
She
look
also
like
says
Colt. Like, I
everyone
thought
should
about
be
that, 'cause he went from like
self-auditing
mega
all
long
year
hair
long.
to like.
As the economy improves, it's a good way to say, okay, the past is the past. Let's try to move forward and identify ways that we can add to
poor
our
Kobe.
savings and hopefully start to contribute to retirement savings as well.
Why don't you just shave your
All right, we got Eric at home.
Is to hire more workers adding to
And 1 minute.
job numbers. Reports from ADP and Moody's Analytics show companies hired 250,000 new workers to close out 2017.
He was.
He was fired up.
I hadn't seen him. I missed
190,000.
seeing that crew.
December was the best month
I need to
for
come
job.
and see the
Yeah,
new building.
the whole iHeart contingent came out, man. I was happy.
Yeah, that was good.
Honestly, I guess I didn't expect it.
Did y'all move or something? Or?
Professional
see the
and
new
business
building. I haven't
services
even
led
seen
the
the
way
new
by
building.
adding
The new look.
72,000 new positions. The education
It's white with red trim. It ain't that great. It's better than crap brown because it was crap brown before.
Right.
5,000 new jobs.
So anything's better than that.
Wall Street grew by 19,000. Consumer and business news. Ted Asragadu, C News Radio.
Yeah, our first floor, though, we're remodeling that. It's going to be like an artist lounge where we can bring in music acts and do performances and stuff there, too.
Oh, really? Like NPR thing? Tiny
Yeah, I
desk
mean,
concert
yeah.
thing?
Yeah, exactly. Like a small, intimate venue.
Very cool.
So you know what that is, Jeff.
It means guest only, invited guest only. No Clydes allowed.
I like that, but I like that though, and I can play an instrument.
No
What if I
Clydes
get
allowed.
what if I get Miranda Lambert? You gonna like it then?
Yes, yes.
As long as we get
No, I'm gonna ban you. All right, showtime.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Friday, January 5th. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdane here with you in our NOLA.com Times Picayune studios, and pleased to be joined by Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly. Eric, how are you, my friend? Good to talk to you. First time on the show, and it's been overdue. I apologize for not bringing you in. I'm just going to blame Jeff. It's Jeff's fault. Blame Jeff.
Well, listen, if you allow me a quick story, the bumper music was absolutely spot on because I have a friend who does some video stuff, and he was there for my bachelor party 5-6 years ago in New Orleans, of course, and he set this video to that song. We were the only ones who saw it, unless you guys had just done some deep research on my background and knew that coming in. But so that was perfect. That is a great welcome to the show. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, Trombone Shorty, we're all in on that. Absolutely. But
oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Eric, you look at the Saints-Panthers matchup. I'm sure Saints fans down here are very confident, even though it's playoff time and you still get jitters as far as Saints-Panthers. They've beaten them twice this year. Seems to me they match up well with Carolina. Just your overall thoughts on this matchup coming up here Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too big of a downer, but there is that old axiom, and it does seem to kind of hold up where, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season. And, there was a chance there late in that second matchup where the Panthers could have made it a little more interesting and given themselves a little more of a chance to win that game. But, I think for me, I guess coming in, the biggest, well, I don't know the biggest matchup, but maybe the matchup that could be most telling in this game is, can the Panthers stop that Saints run game? They did it almost every other game except for those 2 matchups. So if they can find a way to hold them to, 100, 110 yards on the ground or something like that, that kind of changes the dynamic for me a little bit.
Eric, what's your take on Cam Newton? I mean, the guy was the MVP of the league a couple of years ago, took the Panthers to the Super Bowl, but you just look at his performances. I mean, last week against Atlanta, I think his passer rating was like 31 rating. Earlier this year against the Saints, he had a dreadful game, 3 interceptions, a 40-something rating. Then he'll go on the road and beat the Patriots or something the next week. Just wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, and it's funny because everyone kind of hailed him as the modern quarterback, right? I mean, the guy who can run, throw. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's fearless, and all those things are definitely true. But most modern quarterbacks, and you guys know a little something about that with Drew Brees in the low 70s, I mean, most quarterbacks are completing 60 or more % of their passes. It's almost like 62.5 is considered the baseline at this point. Cam's at what, 58, 59? So you have to live with those, 13 for 28 passing performances he has. And, last week it seemed to be about the inability to get the ball to Greg Olsen. I think they targeted him 8 or 9 times and got 1 or 2 catches. So, to me, that connection has to be there for them to be successful. I love Devin Funchess. He seems to have, broken out this year. But Olsen, to me, is the biggest chess piece, mismatch guy, maybe McCaffrey to a degree, but that's the one that they have to get, and it's a little harder getting them the ball sometimes.
Eric Edholm of Pro Football Weekly joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. We've seen Alvin Kamara kind of explode off the map here, and Carolina's had some problems defending him. Even Ron Rivera admitted after the last game they studied and tried to do everything they could to stop him, and they couldn't. Add that dynamic to Mark Ingram, and to me, the Saints have the best overall backfield in the NFL. Are you just surprised, given the way the Saints have been for so many years, so pass-oriented? Are you surprised to see the success of both of these guys, and just your thoughts on both of these guys in general as a running duo?
Yeah, I was obviously, as curious as I'm sure you guys were when they had Adrian Peterson in the mix too, how they would find work for all three and keep everybody happy. And, clearly that wasn't going to work out the way they maybe envisioned at one point. So great move by them, being able to get something for Peterson and perfectly match and marry the skills of Ingram and Kamara. And, I liked Alvin coming out when I was working at Yahoo. I mean, I think I had him as like my number 31 overall player in the draft last year or something. And I just, I thought this is the perfect mismatch tool who could be an impact guy in a split backfield as a single back. You can put him in motion into or out of the backfield. You can split him as a slot receiver. Now, he's had experience returning kicks. We saw, obviously, his prowess in that last week. So just so many ways you can move him around. And, I think if they had him in Atlanta for that Thursday game, he hadn't been knocked out, what did they give him the ball, like 4 straight plays to start the game or whatever? I mean, that was indicative of how much they believe in him. And you pair that with what Ingram's done, and they are extremely tough to beat. And, I like when they're out there at the same time, too. It really makes the defense kind of guess.
Eric, you're mentioning Alvin Kamara. I want to get your take on the Saints draft class. A lot of publicity now coming their way with the performance of Marshawn Lattimore this year. Obviously, Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle. Alex Anzalone was starting earlier this year, and also Marcus Williams at free safety. Where does this class rank in your eyes? I mean, it's hard to get one guy as a rookie to make an impact like the Saints have gotten. They've got multiple guys making impacts.
Yeah, I really, really like their draft haul, because those are all players that I thought they got at great value. Where those players should have gone and where they were picked, they got great value on all of them, whether it was Lattimore and Ramczyk, the first 2 picks, whether it was Kamara at 73 or whatever. Williams was highly regarded. The only reservation I had was the talk of them supposedly wanting Patrick Mahomes and Reuben Foster, and seemingly getting beaten out for both of them. But when you can pivot the way they did and have that exceptional plan B that, in hindsight may end up being better than plan A, who knows? But that to me was great work. And so you credit Jeff Ireland for that, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, everybody else who's in charge of the draft. And just for sort of knowing that, okay, if we don't get some of these other guys, our fallback plan is pretty darn good, and they've made it work so well.
Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Let's shift gears to some of these other matchups. Let's stick with the NFC, obviously, because we're going to be paying attention more to that. And probably NFL fandom is probably going to be paying attention to the NFC matchups, given how kind of in the dumps the AFC matchups are this week. But look, Rams, Falcons, we've seen them both up close and personal as far as playing the Saints. Just what are your overall thoughts on that matchup?
Oh, it's so fascinating, right? I mean, I think, like you said, these are probably the 2 marquee games of the weekend. And, it's exciting the Bills and Jags are in the playoffs, but I don't think anyone's, setting the barbecue to be ready for that one. I don't know. So, yeah, this Saturday night game has the chance to be really kind of special. First Rams home playoff game since I don't even think Sean McVay was born. I think it was 86. So that's kind of cool. But then, this defending runner-up, this Falcons team that just had their guts ripped out last year, sneaking into the playoffs or gutting their way into the playoffs, whatever you want to say. I mean, look, you don't think they're dangerous. I mean, they could beat anybody, and I think they're maybe not still playing their best football, but they're to be reckoned with. And then you have this Rams team that I still feel like people are kind of underselling a little. I mean, well, you guys saw them. They're tough. They're competitive. They play good situational ball. They're explosive on offense without maybe marquee guys other than Todd Gurley. And defensively, they've made enough plays in almost every game. So I really like where both teams are heading into this game. And maybe it comes down to the Rams' kicking issues. They lose their kicker, and they got a new guy in there. Maybe it comes down to a missed field goal or two, and that could be the difference in this one.
Do you feel like AFC is just an inevitable showdown between the Steelers and Patriots? It seems like it's pretty formful on that side of the bracket.
It does, and yet I keep kind of coming up with excuses, and it's like, could I see Alex Smith or Blake Bortles or whoever else, from the other teams make a run? I don't know. That's asking a lot, I think, and they have to play an additional game too. So at some point, you feel like, those guys are going to just have one of those games where they're not great, and maybe the defenses can't pick them up or something. So, on that level, yeah. And do I think this Patriots story that came out, which is a lot of people have kind of known about for a while, is that going to affect them at all? Who knows? Maybe it pushes them forth. Maybe it's the motivation, the us against the world thing that they use so well. But I mean, I tend to agree. It feels like Patriots Steelers in Foxborough for the AFC Championship game, but that Jaguars defense does that turnover thing they do, and they can run the ball. I wouldn't dismiss them. I feel like they could in a single game could beat almost anybody in that AFC field.
Eric, one more, and then we'll let you run. Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Do you think that there is actually a favorite in the NFC? Because I can argue that the Saints can, on their best day, they could beat anyone, and on a bad day, they can lose to any of them.
Is it crazy for me to say that the team that I fear the least right now is the Eagles?
No, I would agree.
I don't know what you guys think.
I would totally
yeah,
agree.
Like,
yeah,
we've
exactly.
Seen this whole struggle now, and I don't know. Their defense has been good, but maybe not dominant. So I'm with you. I 4 weeks ago I thought Saints could be a Super Bowl team. I still think there's a chance now. The Rams aren't to be dismissed. The Vikings are legitimate. They have a complete football team. You're right. I think 2 through 6 are just as good a case as the top overall seed right now.
Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly. Follow him on Twitter at Eric_Edholm. Hey, Eric, appreciate you jumping on the show. Great insight. And like I said, it's Jeff's fault you haven't been on the show. I'm going to blame Jeff.
I have nothing to do with it, Eric. We're very glad that you came on. Very glad. Thank you.
Wait,
and Larry, I want to hear this hair story sometime. All right, you owe me that one over a beer sometime.
I still need to be drinking after what I endured last night. Exactly. Eric, appreciate it, buddy. Good talking to you.
All right.
See ya. That's Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly, and he does those deep dives with the draft prospects, and he said Kamara he had basically as a late first rounder in his prospect lists, and I'm sure people now are wondering, well, why wasn't Alvin Kamara drafted a little higher?
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a top half of the first rounder, as does Ryan Ramczyk, and Marshawn Lattimore, you could argue, would be a top 5 pick on most boards. And I thought it was interesting sneaking out of Kansas City, some leaking out, I should say, not sneaking out, that this is potentially Alex Smith's last year and that they're going to go with Patrick Mahomes next year.
You wouldn't blame him.
I thought that was interesting.
I wouldn't blame him.
Alex Smith's led the league in passing this year. Highest percentage.
Well, percentage of what?
I mean, highest quarterback rating.
He's boring. Whatever. Patrick Mahomes can sling it all over the earth. Breaking news here, though, on Dunc and Holder. Exactly. Cam Jordan named first-team All-Pro. I would say kudos to him. Great year. I've had no issues ever in claiming that I thought he's the best overall defensive end in the NFL right now. Someone on Twitter arguing, well, there's this guy in Houston. I was like, well, he's played 8 games the past 2 years, so you can't claim J.J. Watt. But I would say totally valid for Cam Jordan to be first-team All-Pro. He's the only Saints player to be first-team All-Pro, so I know people are wondering about Mark Ingram and the contract stipulation if he's named first-team All-Pro. Well, you don't have to worry about that. He was not named first-team All-Pro. The running backs were Le'Veon Bell and I'm looking, and Todd Gurley, which to me is obvious. And then the cornerbacks are Xavier Rhodes and I'm blanking on the name. Jalen Ramsey from Jacksonville.
Both those guys are deserving.
Absolutely. And here's what's amazing. Harrison Smith is a first-team All-Pro, and he didn't even make the Pro Bowl.
That was the biggest
How does that
oversight
even
of all
happen?
time. Harrison Smith is up for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's an incredible player.
Absolutely. So let's take a break right here on the show in about 20 minutes. We'll talk with our own Herbie Teope. NOLA.com, Times-Picayune covers the Saints. Great story by Herbie on the Next Generation, our lead story in our special Saints coverage at NOLA.com and Times-Picayune. So we'll talk with him in about 20 minutes. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Your shot at $1,000 now.
I love Hootie!
Cash.
Hootie!
All right,
I love him,
Hootie!
Y'all are all so dumb. Y'all are all so dumb.
That's
just mean and hurtful, Clyde.
It doesn't matter. You don't have feelings.
I mean,
that's besides the point. I've been told that that's hurtful.
Clyde's favorite song is "Hey Now, You're a Rock Star. Get your game on. Get paid."
You would be able to pretty much quote the entire chorus of All Star from Smash Mouth. Loser.
He likes that song Lump, too.
That's a great song.
That's a great song.
He loves Lump.
Yes, and Peaches.
Peaches.
I love
and
Peaches.
Millions of peaches. Peaches for free. Of course you haven't
Of course
heard that
not, Jeff.
song.
But you know Lump though.
Trying to be honest.
Checkout. That's Vistaprint.com. Promo code 9000.
Just look up Topanga again and enjoy.
Enjoy.
Because it's a deal to
Enjoy.
get you a sandwich.
She's lovely.
Hey, we got a Buzz in Emery.
All right.
$4.
He sounds drunk.
Buzz
More
Lightyear.
variety
Is it
than ever.
me? Is it like pseudo
No, I
me?
think Buzz means he's drunk.
I'm Junior Bacon Cheeseburger through and through.
I pledge myself to the crispy chicken sandwich.
I'm loyal to my
I
hunger.
need
Whether
to
you're
be
loyal to one
drunker.
sandwich
You
or all
stayed
eight,
in
the
just
Wendy's
the
4
right
for $4 has a
level
sandwich
last
for
night.
you. So try them all
Just
and
the
pick
right
your
level. You
favorite.
didn't
Now
go
that-
over the
I know
top.
we were trying to push you over that level.
You know, we drank, I think 5 shots last night. You drank more than I did. I drank 5.
Oh, every like person I knew, they're like, "Can I get you a drink? Can I get you a shot?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, yes."
But I think,
Yes,
I think
yes.
2 things worked for us. We spaced it out over a long period of time.
That was smart.
And
For her
we got
2014
home early.
Shake It Off from a track
We
they
got home at
wrote
like
in
10 o'clock or something like
2001.
that. Or I got you home
Lawyers
at,
have
like,
dubbed
I
the
was supposed
words
to get
in
you
the
home at
phrase
10.
public domain
I asked
for
Jody, I was
slaves,
like, "What time
and
did I
said
get
the
home?"
courts
She's
have
like, "Around 10 or
consistently
something."
ruled that people cannot
Yeah, I
claim
was-
the rights to
you were
short
like
phrases.
under
Ed Sheeran's
directive from
Divide
Joni.
is still getting recognition
Because
almost
you were
a
like,
year after
"Oh, don't
its
stay out."
release.
We're
A
like,
year-end
"No, we're
report
taking you
from
home."
Music
Joni
revealing
wants you home.
1 minute.
2017's most popular album with over 2.5 million streams and traditional
You
album
were like, "We're
sales.
gonna go to
It
Snake
also
and
became
Jake's
Sheeran's second
all the way back over
consecutive leader
uptown."
on
I'm
the
like, "We're not
Billboard
going that way."
200.
Terrible
Ellen
idea.
Page is now a
Snake and
married
Jake's.
woman, the 30-year-old Canadian, surprising her fans by announcing that she wed choreographer girlfriend Emma
Well, you remember
Portner.
seeing
She
Melinda
did not
Morris
reveal
come over
when,
with a
but
guy?
said along with an Instagram photo
Yeah, I
of their
thought
wedding
she was-
bands, she
Never
can't
mind, I'm not gonna
believe
say that. But yeah, I do
she
remember
called
seeing
this
her. Yeah.
extraordinary woman her wife.
Yeah, she's
She
Algiers,
first went
man.
public
She-
with their
I
relationship
didn't know
last
she was that
summer
hot.
after
Yeah,
Page
yeah.
began sharing photos of them together
I
online.
ran into.
Kim Kardashian clearing the air
No, but I
about her
ran into-
parenting. The reality star
I guess they
taking
had
to
like
Twitter
a
to shut down a user who accused her
girls'
of leaving
night,
her hospitalized son
in the
safe
newsroom,
to party with
and they
friends
were
on
all
New Year's
at
Eve.
that
She
pizza
said the
place I keep
2-year-old was
telling you
being
about,
treated for
Tavolino's,
pneumonia
and
from a
Oh, yeah,
Wednesday
yeah.
to
Yeah, there was
Saturday
probably
and
about
was home
10 of
Sunday,
me and
already
Joni and the
asleep when her
kids
son
running around
at
screaming.
her Los Angeles home. That's entertainment. Jennifer Pulsoni, NBC News Radio.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. Let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Let's go to Metairie and talk with Buzz. What's up, Buzz? How are you today?
Hey, hello, Larry. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. One of the ones to point out to you is that the you all were talking earlier about the Saints unable to make third downs.
Right.
And my question would be, how does a team score over 30 points every time they play this team without making a first down?
Hey, Buzz. Appreciate the phone call. And it's interesting that they can still get it done and not be that good on third down. I find that very curious. It's like the anomaly. And you look at the third down statistics among the playoff teams, and you look probably 1 through 10, and people are in the playoffs. They're all in that number. And the Saints are basically middle of the road. It is fascinating. Look, I could tell you they're the best team in the NFL on fourth down. They don't go for it all the time, but they're 12 of 15 on fourth down, and I think that's actually a kudos to Sean Payton for being aggressive, saying, like, forget this. I trust my offense to get this thing done. But, yeah, it is a concern. To me, it's probably the number one concern going into the postseason. Not injuries, not anything else, not other teams that they play. That if they can't keep drives going, I mean, they're going to get beat. There's no question.
Well, Buzz made a good point. Buzz, by the way, aptly named. 6 of 12 third down conversions by the Saints against the Panthers in Carolina. So they converted half their third downs in that Week 3 game, and they were 6 of 15 here. So overall, 12 of 27. That's not bad. And they were 6 of 12 actually against the Bucs last week. So it's been some of these other games that are confounding. 3 of 13 against Atlanta, 3 of 13 against the Rams. Those are good teams that they might have to face in the playoffs.
Well, the Saints actually struggled in the first half on third down. They were able to get some key third downs in the second half. Mark Ingram solely responsible for at least 3. He was rolling people over. And you thought, at least I thought, that in that game, the fact that he was able to do that they were going to seal the win. And, of course, we know that didn't happen.
Yeah, and, Drew Brees made a really good point of he took ownership of that loss. I know everybody focused on the defense not being able to make the stop in the 2-minute drill, but they had a chance to put that game away and didn't. So you make a really good point. That's what good teams do, especially with that good running game. And they couldn't do it, had to give the ball back to the Falcons. And once you're in 4-down mode every time, you can convert more often because you've got another try every time, and that's exactly what happened. Normally they would have punted on 3rd and 10. Instead they go for it and get it. And they got some momentum there on that drive. And, the broadcast crew made a really good point. They were really picking on P.J. Williams in that game. And so it'll be interesting to see if Carolina tries to go to that well as well. I don't think they have quite the receiving core that Tampa Bay does.
And you just got to wonder about Cam Newton's accuracy. I mean, Jameis Winston, though, when they needed to get it done, he got it done. We've seen him be inaccurate.
Cordell, Minnesota.
Earlier in the game, we saw him nearly throw 3 picks. 1 got picked, but 2 of them were right in the Saints' hands.
Well, he threw 3 picks, and 2 of them were just atrocious decisions.
As Jeff said, Jameis Winston is awful.
And then, of course, they turns it on and gets it done.
But I think it's one of those things that,
want to stick with him,
He was
got talent.
Because, and probably why Cutter saved his job, because over the course of the last 3 weeks, he threw for over 300 yards, at least in each of those last 3-4 games anyway.
They didn't lay down.
He can make some big-time throws. He threw one in that 2-minute offense to Mike Williams, if you remember, right? It was kind of an angle route right to the Saints bench, right near the sideline, that was just picture perfect. I mean, the coverage wasn't bad, but the throw was just too good.
Let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Cordell in Minnesota. What's up, Cordell? How are you, buddy?
Hey, man. How y'all doing, man?
We're good.
Cordell, what's the temperature up there right now?
It's like -10 right now.
Oh, my gosh. We think it's cold down here. We're whining and moaning, and you're in -10.
Tell me about it.
Oh.
If it was 30 degrees here, I'd have on sandals and shorts and, tank top.
Maybe a Speedo. Maybe Cordell in a Speedo. That would be glorious.
And just imagine now I'm a big fella with a Speedo on.
Oh!
Get out of your brain.
Cordell, that's why you're the best. What's up, buddy?
Right. Hey, man. Listen, I was wondering, who do you guys think we have outside of Lattimore that could cover Greg Olsen, because he's the only person on that team, outside of Cam that kind of keeps me a little nervous about the game. I know we didn't play him the first game, so I'm just wondering who we have that can cover him. Is it possible that they would put like T.J. Williams on him, or who would you think that be the best person to cover Olsen?
Hey, Cordell, appreciate the phone call as always, buddy. Yeah, look, I've said it a few times this week, and not joking, in some tight spots, I wouldn't mind seeing them put Lattimore on Olsen. I know he's obviously a bigger guy, but if you want to lock him down and trust your other corners with some of the receivers who don't necessarily scare me, I honestly would not have a big issue with that.
I think they're probably going to use a variety of coverages, a variety of different defenders. I mean, Craig Robertson's done a good job in coverage this year as a linebacker. He's got obviously the size to match up with him. Von Bell is probably the best matchup size-wise, physically, but he's not great in coverage. Marcus Williams, I could see them putting him out there. I mean, he's really good in coverage, has good range, but then you take away what he does best, and that's play center field,
right?
The sideline-to-sideline route. So I think they're probably going to have to mix some coverages. I don't know. I mean, Sterling Moore hasn't been playing much at all in the secondary rotation. Raphael Bush has been out there a lot. So they have three safeties. They're probably going to use a variety of safeties and different packages to try and keep them off balance because he's a matchup problem, though. There's no doubt about it.
Let's take a break right here on the show. And in about 10 minutes or so, we'll talk with Herbie Teope, of course, of NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Why don't next segment we make some picks? Let's do that. And then we'll leave the last segment for our man Herbie Teope. So come on back here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app on a Country Fried Friday. We're Dunc and Holder.
And you, sir, do not have a pair of vegetables if you prefer drinking from glass. A red Solo cup is cheap and disposable.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you
Red Solo Cup.
Life.
I fill you up. Let's have a party.
What the hell is just
We'll see
happening
temperatures
here?
climbing into the low
It's a sing-along time. Come on.
under a mix of sun and clouds, and tonight it'll get chilly again.
Just because you're bald doesn't mean you have to act old.
On the North Shore and those mid-30s
I'd rather
on
hear
the
the
South
Honky
Shore.
Tonk Man
Looks like
theme
we'll
song.
see temperatures getting
The what?
The Honky Tonk Man from
and
WWF,
mid-60s
dude.
for highs on.
Oh my God.
I got my long sideburns and my hair slicked back coming to your town in a pink Cadillac. I'm just a honky tonk man. Yeah, Jeff. Dig
Jesus,
it.
Larry.
Dig it. Love it.
Mr. Rogers passed along friendship.
Oh, Lordy.
hoping we would too. Friendship. Pass it on.
All right, I'm probably gonna cut this segment short because I told
Saving
Herbie
money
at
can seem
11:40.
daunting, so most of the time
we'll just
since
keep
we
the
don't wanna
last
think about
segment
saving,
long.
we don't
That's
save.
cool.
But now with an Easy Start certificate,
yeah, that's fine.
Federal Credit Union, you can keep not thinking about saving while actually saving. With recurring transfers, you automatically save money each month without ever thinking about it.
No,
it's simple.
Yeah,
I think we probably thought about it too much.
We're talking about, we'll be going to Philly next week.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so who's have we put our...
So Saints heavy.
The only thing I'm really living for
They
is
did.
the next meal.
They're what, 2-1 now in the league, or?
Have I dumped myself?
The more weekday game.
Food is my worst enemy.
I think regardless, I mean, you could probably get them on one day.
Since I walked away on it, if I don't change, I'm gonna die.
I want to be a good role model for my girls.
I'm risking my life to have
I did notice on Eric's show
A
yesterday.
season of change
He
on
got
my
a lot of
600-pound
callers
life. Wednesday at 8 on TLC and TLC Go.
A lot of people were into that. We just gotta get some
NFL playoffs start tomorrow with the Chiefs hosting the Titans and the Falcons calling on the Rams on Sunday.
All right, 1 minute.
Jaguars in Jacksonville and the
He's
Saints
also
home for
got
the
his
Panthers.
base of,
Buffalo
like,
running back
people who
LaShawn McCoy, who injured his right ankle last week, is out of his walking boot but is unsure if he'll play. Tennessee running back DeMarco Murray is out with a slight MCL tear. The Warriors down the Rockets 124-114 in Houston. 17 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists for Draymond Green, who broke the franchise record for triple-double.
It's not something that I ever thought. I didn't even know what the record was, and then not something that I ever thought. Even thought about or thought would happen. Especially not playing much my first 2 years. It's crazy.
Steph Curry at 29, Klay Thompson 28 for Golden State. Both James Harden and Kevin Durant did not play due to injury.
Pels play
College
tonight?
top-ranked Michigan State
No, they
rolled
play
over
Saturday.
Maryland
Who they got?
91-61.
Minnesota.
Number 4 Arizona State fell at OT at Colorado 90-81. That's sports. Frank Harity, NBC.
All right, coming back.
We bleed purple, Green, blue, black, and gold. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Dave is the man. The honky-tonk man. He was once the Intercontinental Champion, Jeff Duncan. Do you realize this?
That's a good song.
Damn right it's good.
I like that.
You know who beat the honky-tonk man in about 3 seconds?
No.
To win the Intercontinental title?
No, I do not know.
The Ultimate Warrior. Boom.
Boom. And
Exactly.
zoom.
Such a conflicted now history for the Ultimate Warrior now.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I'm checking out again.
Because he used to be one of my favorites too. Him, like if you either painted your face or had a mask on, Rey Mysterio Jr. was my guy. Sting was my dude.
I was a Sting guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Checked out.
Jeff checked out.
Good, Jeff.
Didn't
Thank
the
you.
Ultimate Warrior die here?
Ooh.
I think he did. I think he died, or like the day after he got inducted in the Hall of Fame, and it was in New Orleans, and I think he died the next day.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Something
You're
like
right.
that. Anyway, Jeff, you good?
Yep, all good.
You want to talk about some horse racing? Let's see. When's the Breeders'
I
Cup?
love how you go to nerd Larry talk.
When's the Breeders' Cup?
It's true. You do go back to that well of like, oh hey, let's talk nerdy about Jeff, and then nerdy voice, and then horse
I
racing.
thought we were going to do NFL picks.
We got a lot of time, man.
Thought wrong.
We are.
Thought wrong.
Blame Dave.
You're gonna learn today.
Blame
All right.
Dave. That's why he did the honky tonk man song. All right, Jeff. What are the games?
Let's go. Let's do this real quick. Let's look at the games and the lines very quickly. In the AFC, starting tomorrow, the Titans are 9-point underdogs at Kansas City. That's not going to be my upset of the week. I like the Titans. I think they could win that game, even though Marcus Mariota has not played well on the road. This is surprising. They've won, I think, 4 of the last 5 games they played in Arrowhead Stadium, which is a very difficult place to play. Now, they've never played there in the playoffs.
No.
But I like them. I think the Chiefs might be kind of overrated in this game. 9 points is a lot. So I like the Titans.
Well, he hasn't played well, period, Marcus Mariota. So.
No, but they've got a good defense. They can run the ball. And Kansas City, while they've won, I think they've won their last 4 games. Not really impressively. Haven't really beaten a lot of big-time teams in that run. So I kind of like Tennessee, I think, to pull off the upset. No one's picking them.
Well, I'm not either.
But
so
I am.
I'm going with Kansas City. I don't care. I just think Tennessee, they're just happy to be there.
I think it goes back to what you just said about Tennessee playing in Kansas City in the postseason. I don't trust Tennessee on the road. We've seen them lose. How many times have we been seeing in the press box at the Superdome, and the Titans are playing like the late afternoon game, and we've watched them capitulate or do something just to not win. I just don't trust them.
But they play close.
They play close, but I don't think I'm going with Kansas City.
And that's one thing I would say about the Saints. I noted, they've lost their last 3 road games, but all of them have been close. All of them have gone down to the wire. It's not like they're getting trucked in these games. Same for the Titans. So, all right, let's move on. The NFC game is one that I think a lot of people in New Orleans will be watching, scouting the Falcons at the Rams. The Falcons are 6-point underdogs. It'll be the weird situation where I think Saints fans actually might be pulling for the Falcons in that game. I don't think they're going to get it done. I like the Falcons. I think they've had time to prepare for this. They basically took the last weekend of the season.
You mean the Rams?
The Rams. I like the Falcons. Yeah, the Rams basically took the last weekend of the season off to get healthy. I like Sean McVay and Wade Phillips, that combination of coaches. I think they'll just have a better plan for the Falcons than the Falcons will. And I know that the Falcons have a puncher's chance because Matt Ryan, he's one of the all-time leading passers in playoff history. But I like the Rams to cover even the 6 points.
Well, I think the Rams are going to truck Atlanta. I think that Atlanta, they just don't have it this year. Even though I know they've beaten the Saints and it kept it close, whatever. It's not their year, and I think the Rams, to me, people think the Vikings are dangerous. I think the Rams may be the most dangerous team in the NFC.
Yeah.
I'm going the Rams to win big in this game.
I think you make a good point because their offense is creative and dynamic because of McVay and what he's doing. Obviously, Gurley, the X factor at running back. But people forget that was a really good defense there. I mean, Aaron Donald is probably going to win the Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's the best interior defensive lineman in the league, bar none. They've got a very good opportunistic defense as well, so you can't overlook both sides of the ball with them.
Yeah,
Clyde?
and I think, we talk about it a lot, like which Falcons team is going to show up. Like which team that we've seen now, kind of with that Jekyll and Hyde mentality of which Matt Ryan are we going to get to? We're going to get the Matt Ryan that was the NFL, that was the MVP and led his team to the Super Bowl and almost had it with, a quarter left to go, or we're going to see the Matt Ryan is going to throw 3 picks. And what defense are we going to see? I just don't know if Atlanta with that Jekyll and Hyde can continue to ride that, and especially with the Rams being able to play at home. I'm going to go with Los Angeles on this one.
All right, moving on. Sunday, the early game, AFC wildcard game, the Bills playing down in Jacksonville. The Bills in the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. The Jaguars in the playoffs for the first time in a decade. Jaguars are 9-point favorites, and I like the Bills to cover, but I don't think they'll win the game. I think Jaguars win the game, but I do think the Bills will keep it close.
I'm going to agree there. I think Buffalo will cover, but I do think Jacksonville's going to win. But, yeah, I could see Blake Bortles throwing picks. You never know. I mean, he's still point. Blake Bortles. Give me a break.
39.5 is the total. I think it's going to be a really low-scoring defensive game. A lot of field goals.
And that's why I'm going with Buffalo. This is my upset. This is my upset of the weekend.
Straight up?
Straight up.
Whoa.
Buffalo. Yes. You see that? Jeff's doing what I'm doing on the side. If you can see it.
Buffalo.
Book it. Buffalo's playing with house money.
Will you shave your head if Buffalo
Absolutely not. I'm not doing anything. I'm not making no bets. I ain't crazy.
Just fishing.
Yeah. Of course you're fishing, and you're going to come up empty. No, Buffalo, obviously, it's miraculous that they're in the playoffs as it is. They're playing with house money. They have nothing to lose. They have nothing to fear. And they're going to a Jacksonville team, as Larry just said, with, again, Jekyll and Hyde quarterback that doesn't know, that you never know what you're going to get, regardless of whether or not Jacksonville's defense clearly has been fantastic all year. I think Buffalo goes in, and I think punches them in the mouth early. And I don't know if Jacksonville has an answer. I think Buffalo wins.
All right, let's take the last pick in the last segment. Let's take a break right here on the show. When we get back, we'll have Herbie Teope, of course, of NOLA.com. And the Times picking. You know, Hacksaw, that comes from another wrestling guy. You want to hear that song?
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Check it out
Jim
again.
Duggan.
Check it out again. Oh, you're making fun of me in horse racing. You're all talking wrestling. Oh gosh, Jerry Lawler's so awesome. Jerry Lawler, man, he's Andre the Giant.
We need to do a show with just nerd voices. Jeff's nerd voice against Larry's nerd voice. I don't have one because my voice is awesome.
Jeff is just more of a Doink the Clown kind of a guy. That's who he is.
Jerry Lawler,
or maybe
man.
Dink. Doink so and
awesome.
Dink.
Doink and Dink, yeah.
Exactly.
When Andre the Giant went against Jerry Lawler, it was so cool, man.
Where'd you see that, in Memphis?
It was Mid-South Coliseum.
There you go.
It was awesome. Don't tell me that it's not real. You've seen those guys hit the ground.
It's still real to me, dang it.
What's going on? One more segment here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. For Duncan Holder.
It's still real to me, damn it. I'm sorry.
So awesome.
You put your bodies on the line.
More often. This is too much fun. I enjoy you. You have
Speaking of
nerds, great perspective.
Oh,
the Chris Cordy
Never
Show.
like
Weekday mornings 8 to 10 on Sports 1280. New Orleans.
2018 is an opportunity to grow your business.
Oh, dude, look at this.
But how do you find it?
Someone just tweeted at us at the account. FYI, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior actually started out as tag team partners, known as the Blade Runners. I didn't know that.
No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
To try ZipRecruiter for free, just go to ZipRecruiter.com/expand. That's ZipRecruiter.com/expand.
He's like, standing by 11:36. I'm like, well, we're not calling you at 11:36.
Standing by. For many cancer patients, getting to and from treatment is one of their toughest challenges. The American Cancer Society needs volunteer drivers to help provide transportation for people in your community. Through the gift of a lift in your car, you can help patients take one more step in the road to recovery. Get in the driver's seat in the fight against cancer. To find out more, call your American Cancer Society at 1-800-227-2345 or visit cancer.org.
Hey, we got the Herbster.
All right.
Join me in the fight.
And I got a country version of Game of Thrones.
Yes, they did like a bluegrass
country version.
Yes, it's a bluegrass.
It's like a bluegrass version.
Awesome. Yes, I'm so excited. God bless the internet.
You know my favorite country song ever? We'll get it on one day on Country Friday Friday. Have you ever heard the Gord's?
The what?
The Gord's rendition of Gin and juice.
And Amazon
It's
Prime.
awesome.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, look it up.
Oh my God,
Gin and
serious?
juice.
And should
It's
be able to be
incredible. It's
integrated
like one of the
into smart
greatest
TVs, cable
cover
boxes, and other devices.
tunes
TiVo
ever.
is
I
expected
love
to
it.
give more details, including
It's
pricing
just so
next
funny
week
hearing
at
them
the
sing
CES
those lyrics.
Consumer Electronics Show.
like
Microsoft
I've
is
heard
getting
it.
into the
Yeah,
thermostat
it's
business.
awesome.
The smart thermostat called Glass features a translucent OLED display with touch controls. But you can also use Microsoft's voice-controlled assistant Cortana to manage your home's climate. Pre-orders begin in March with a retail price of $319. Mark?
Oh God, yeah, I remember this one now.
Yeah.
It is.
Saying heartbeat, Snoop D-O, double G. Some way, hey.
Oh, see, all right, 10 seconds.
NBC.
Oh man, that's such an awesome song.
Oh, the YouTubers heard that too.
Dunc and Holder now. Eric Asher next at noon on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Even on a Country Fried Friday, Dave finds the country version of Game of Thrones just for our own Herbie T.O.P. Herbie, that was an undertaking that Dave did just to make you happy, my friend. Just for you.
You know why? Because the North remembers, and
Thank
Dave
you.
understands that. See?
Amen,
he understands that.
Herbie, are you going to Comic-Con or what? Are you gonna? Have you like crashed a party? Are you a featured guest at Comic-Con this weekend?
Hey, I'd love to be, but you know what? There's no such thing as an NFL offseason, so who has time to go to a Comic-Con, right?
Well, the rest of the
Dave
league
does.
does. The rest of the league does because they're not playing right now. But yeah, there you go. So, Herbie, just your overall thoughts on this matchup. We watched the Saints beat this team twice, and me personally, I don't see why the Saints wouldn't be able to win again. What are your thoughts of this overall matchup?
And you're absolutely correct, and that's the reason why I agree with you, because they do know this team very well, and conversely, the Panthers know the Saints well as well, and they're going to have Greg Olsen. But I think this team playing them at home, where they went 7-1 this past regular season, should really help the Saints, because the only thing you have to worry about right now is, are the Panthers going to do anything the Saints have never seen before? But I don't think that'll be the case, because the players are going to be prepared for that. The coaching staff is going to be prepared for that. And if you take care of business like they've done in the previous two games, I don't see any reason why the Saints should lose this.
Herbie, you mentioned Greg Olsen going to be back in this game. Didn't play in either of the aforementioned games against the Saints. How do you think Dennis Allen and that defensive staff will try to combat him and cover him? Because Kenny Vaccaro is obviously out. He's on IR. He's matched up with him in the past. I'm kind of curious to see what they do. What do you think they'll do?
You know what? And that's a good point, because Vaccaro has matched up against Olsen in the past, where Olsen is, as most Saints fans know, he's a Saints killer. But I think with this defensive secondary that you have right now, you've got Von Bell back there, who's a viable replacement for Vaccaro. But let's not overlook what Marcus Williams can do. Let's not overlook what this past defense has done in 2017. I think they are equipped with the personnel that they have right now, with that influx of young talent back there. So they should be able to cover this guy. They know what he likes to do, and it goes back to the familiarity aspect. Dennis Allen is not going to be surprised. He knows what Greg Olsen and the Panthers like to do. So I think that they match up well against him, in my opinion.
Herbie T.O.P. joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Herbie's got a great story on the cover of our Friday edition of the Times-Picayune about the next generation. And Herbie, you look at all of these players that you chronicled and we've seen all year. It's such a young roster, and I'm curious to see how they react to playoff football. And yet, I feel like that this team, it's almost like they don't know any better, and they're just going to go out and play free. I mean, what do you feel like these young guys and how they'll stack up come Sunday?
You know, that's a fair question, but I think Sean Payton was absolutely correct, because we asked him that question on the conference call the other day, and he mentioned that a lot of these players have gone through the BCS setting. And like, as soon as he said that, it hit me that Von Bell played in the national championship when Ohio State beat Oregon just 2 years ago. And he was one of the first people I went up and talked to in the locker room, and I said, there's a lot of talk about
playoff experience. Is this overrated? And he just looked at me and chuckled. He was like, yeah, it's overrated. It's like, a lot of us have played in a lot of big games before in the past. And think about this, that they treated that game against the Atlanta Falcons just 2 weeks ago as a playoff game. So a lot of these guys, I don't think they're going to have an issue with them getting up for it, anything like that. Some of these young rookies that we just mentioned there, players that are chronicled in that article, all came from big-time college schools, big-time Power 5 conferences, so they have the experience of playing in a big game. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at all.
Herbie, what's the situation with injuries? The Saints going to go into this game healthy, considering they had guys like Terron Armstead sitting out last week? Can you kind of give us an update on the injury front?
Well, Armstead told us Wednesday that, he hopes to play. And the fact that he was limited in 2 straight days is a good sign for him to be available. And the Saints are actually entering this contest relatively healthy. Yesterday, there were only 2 players listed as limited, and Armstead being one of them. Rookie defensive end Trey Hendrickson was the other one. And Hendrickson, who hasn't played since week 14, told me that, I do expect to play. Sean Payton told us yesterday on the conference call he hopes Hendrickson can play. They're the only 2 you have to worry about because everybody else who was listed as limited on Wednesday put in a full practice on Thursday. So you're talking guys like Michael Thomas, hamstring injury. He's back to a full practice. And Senio Kelemete, back to a full practice. Tight end Michael Ho'omana-Wanui, who has suffered from a concussion, suffered in week 15, put in a full practice yesterday. So that signals he's out of the concussion protocol. The Saints are entering the first round of the playoffs relatively healthy with the folks that they have on the active 53-man roster. I know they have a lot of players on injured reserve, but you focus on the guys who are on the roster right now, and I think they're going to be at full strength.
Herbie, what is your biggest concern for the Saints going into Sunday's game?
I don't really have any major concerns here. The only thing I could think of is and this isn't really a concern because a lot of players who have been in the playoffs before and they had that long lull, and I don't think you're going to see a massive letdown because a lot of these guys understand what the stage is. Manti Te'o yesterday was fantastic. He tells me in the locker room the last time he made the playoffs was 2013, his rookie season with the then San Diego Chargers, and he was like, "Man, this is easy." All the veteran players are telling him, covet this moment because you never know when you're going to get back. They're back now, so I don't have any major concerns. I think they're going to take care of business.
What do you think that dome is going to be like on Sunday, Herbie?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What do you think that Superdome is going to be like? The atmosphere?
Well, you know what? If the players understand what it means to be back in the playoffs, certainly the fan base knows after 3 straight seasons of 7-9. I will tell you, and you guys have been doing this a long time too, but coming from Kansas City, where I know that's a diehard fan base, I will say the Saints take it up another level. And so the Saints fans certainly understand the moment, and they are back in the playoffs, and this is a team that is primed to go deep because when you think about it, the Saints have something that the other NFC playoff teams don't have, and that's a first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. So that gives the Saints a major edge in the postseason. The fans are just going to be outrageously loud.
Herbie Teope. Follow him on Twitter at Herbie Teope, of course, our colleague here at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune covering the Saints. Hey, Herbie, appreciate it as always, and we will be seeing you on Sunday.
Hey, and Larry, before I get off the phone here, man, I'm glad to see you look like a United States Army recruit, man. That's good stuff.
I think I'm Joker. Can I be Joker from Full Metal Jacket? I think that fits.
Show me your war face.
Why are you a soldier and you're wearing a peace pin? Is that, I don't know the exact line, but that's Joker. Exactly. So, all right, Herbs.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, Herbie.
All right, that's Herbie Teope, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. Look, Panthers actually just put out their injury report, and they've got 4 players who are questionable. One is Devin Funchess. Another is Matt Khalil. And we've got to look at the list here. Derek Anderson, the backup quarterback, who's with an illness. And Trey Turner with a concussion. He's still in the concussion protocol. I think he's, according to the reporting up in Charlotte, that he's going to see the neurologist today to see if he's able to play. So Funchess, Khalil, Turner, and backup quarterback Derek Anderson. No one's out. No one's doubtful for Carolina.
And one other note that we should mentioned with the All-Pro coming out today, Mark Ingram did not make it. If he would have made All-Pro, he could have avoided the final year of his contract. So there is some news value to that he did not make All-Pro. I didn't think he would make it, but you never know.
And Alvin Kamara is second-team All-Pro in the flex position, which I guess that's fantasy football bringing it into the All-Pro voting. So Alvin Kamara, second-team All-Pro.
Yes, and I tell you that some of these injuries on the Carolina front, really, I mean, there's some key players there. Now, I think they'll probably play because it is the playoffs. You got to suck it up. But a lot of key guys for them. Left tackle Matt Khalil is a big part of their offensive line. And, their left guard, Andrew Norville, was first-team All-Pro. He's one of the best guards in the league. I think they're going to try and establish some kind of running game with Cam Newton more than they have in the past. I think that's one area that the Saints are going to have to really key in on, is how they control Cam Newton on the ground. In my picks, and I guess we'll get into this pick at some point.
Let's get our picks.
I picked the Saints to win 31-17. I just think they're going to pull away late, wear them down. I think they'll take the life, if you will, or the motivation away from Carolina in the second half.
All right, Clyde, what's your pick? Who you got?
I've been kind of waffling back and forth on this.
What?
Yeah, I've been waffling. Not necessarily on
typical waffler.
Yeah. I'm a waffler. No, I kind of go along a little bit with what Jeff's going with, i.e. in the fact that I think that it's going to be a closer game than I think fans and I think most of us will want it to be. It's not going to be a typical blowout. However, I think it's going to be going into the third quarter. The Saints will be up by maybe 3-4, let's say something like that. Saints get a big turnover on defense, go on to score. That takes the life out of the Panthers, and then they go on to win 28-20.
Wow, pretty specific prediction there.
I think the Saints are going to win this game, but I think it's going to be, like Clyde said, a little closer than maybe we would think. I'm going Saints 30, Carolina 23. And the Saints cannot afford any kind of bumbling mistake, like, say, Tommy Lee Lewis fumbles the ball and they get a touchdown, or Drew Brees throws a bad pick or something like that. They cannot afford to let Carolina get any kind of momentum early on in this game because it's not like, even though they've beaten them twice, it's not like Carolina's not capable of coming in here and winning. I mean, in the past we've seen them win games here, and it's not like that the Dome is this total intimidator for them, and yet I do feel like that the Dome crowd is going to be rocking. It's going to be crazy loud. Will it be as loud as the Falcons game? I don't know, because I think
hard.
Falcons, all that energy, I don't know. It'll be hard to do. But
2 minutes.
They at least don't have to worry about going to, like, Christmas parties afterwards. So they could just leave it all out on Sunday.
Here's the thing I would say. The Saints benefited when they played in Carolina. They forced 3 turnovers, I think it was. If Carolina doesn't turn it over, I think they're going to be in this thing in the fourth quarter. I think they'll shorten the game, play it close. I don't think that defense is going to play as poorly as they played in the past. I think they're going to have some different wrinkles. They've been blitzing more, as Jordan said earlier. I think they could be in the game, but if bad Cam Newton comes out, drops the ball, fumbles, throws a bad pick, I think it could be a rout.
Yeah, I could see that, but I just feel like some quirky things are going to happen, and you never know.
You'd almost imagine
playoffs,
the Saints have something up their sleeve too, right? Like, you have to believe that, like, there's some wrinkles that they haven't shown yet that they plan on at least hopefully busting out this weekend that Carolina hasn't seen on film.
Maybe like another fake field goal, something like that.
Sure,
that went well.
Why not? Whatever.
Really interesting, before we get off the air real quick, Darren Perry looks like he's going to be the Packers defensive coordinator under Mike McCarthy. Darren Perry played here under Jim Haslett when I covered the team. Very well-respected guy. I think that's going to be a really good addition for them.
Well, great show today. I'm still bald. I still have no hair.
Can't wait till Sunday.
What's up with? I mean, I'm still going to be bald.
We know.
Yeah. Want to thank
30 seconds.
Want to thank Jordan Rodrigue from the Charlotte Observer, Eric Edholm from Pro Football Weekly, and Herbie Teope, and all your calls. So appreciate it as always. And again, last night, appreciate everybody who came out. Great event. So I will still be bald for the foreseeable future. So thanks everyone.
Love it. I love the cue ball look.
There you go.
Duncan Balder.
Seconds.
Coming up next, Eric Asher. So come on back here Monday. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye, bud.
You're a stud. Enjoy Comic-Con, bud.